Vital Signs, this is the Mission and Goals podcast. Radio check, over. Hang in there, buddy. We've got you. You're not alone.
Sitting comfortably in the chair, have your body open, legs apart, hands resting on your legs, palms facing up. Closing your eyes, just becoming aware of your chair and your body sitting in the chair. We draw our senses to the feeling of our body. Feel the pressure of the back of your legs and your backside sitting on the chair to your back in the wooden space that's on your spine. You bring awareness down to your feet. Feel them connected to the ground. Become aware of the ground beneath your feet and that it spreads out infinitely from where you're connected to the earth. Then bring your attention gently to your ears, your auditory senses. Become aware of the sound of my voice. And then become aware of the sounds in your body. Swallowing, breathing. And then move your awareness out from your body. Become aware of the sounds in the distance. Let that fill that space. And bring your awareness to your eyes, and your eyes are closed, but look into the lids. Become aware that your eyes are seeing something, even if your lids are closed. Might be little speckles of light, sometimes little dots, sometimes like a fuzzy nothingness, which is all good. And then from there, just gently become aware of your nostrils and your mouth and the breath. Feel the breath coming in through your nose, down into your lungs, cycling around and then coming out again through your mouth. And as you become aware of your breath, feel the temperature in your nostrils as you draw that air in. And feel this coolness, and as you breathe out, you feel that the temperature's changed slightly in your breath where it's warmer. Become aware of anything that you can smell. Maybe a hint of fragrance. And now that you're completely in your body, in this time and space, and we're grateful for all the forces of the universe that have worked together to bring us to this point in time and space, that we might meet and share and enrich each other. Gently lift your hands up and place them together and rub them to create some warmth between your palms. And before you open your eyes, place your warm palms over your face and just gently give it a little massage, a little rub, so that you're reminded that you're in your physical body, and that's your face and your eyes. And then when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Behind your hands, become aware of the light and realize that you're back in this time and space in your body.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that energy and calming and relaxing. That was amazing. Thank you.
And here you are.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Moment.
In the moment.
In the moment. So, Kaz.
So, Joel, Mr. Crow.
Yes. Would you like to explain to everyone who you are and a little bit about your background story, and then we'll get into it. A lot to unpack there, I know, but
yeah.
Start with your name, I suppose.
So my name's Karen Gibbs, but I prefer Kaz, having had a mother who was a school teacher, and anytime I heard Karen, it was normally because I was in trouble.
Yep.
And so I prefer Kaz. Plus, Karen's also become the butt of a meme.
Yes,
You
I
don't-
don't think many people would be called Karen from now on.
No, I don't think so either. You don't want to be a Karen, and I'm grateful that my hair's long and not short.
Yeah.
And I have little jokes when I ring up on behalf of the organisation and say, no, my name's Karen, I'd like to speak to the manager, like legitimately, I'm not angry, but...
Yeah.
So I think it's good to be able to laugh at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I currently manage the charity, Young Diggers. I'm on the board of directors. I was the chairperson for 2 years, and we now have another chairperson, which is good. And I run the day-to-day things. How did I get to be in Young Diggers? I donated a dog about 3 years ago, and it didn't work out for the veteran that it had been donated to. And so the dog came back to me, and as I'd bred the dog, I kept him. And at the time I didn't have a diagnosis of PTSD, but I'd had his grandmother, Jess, bless her, and she went with me everywhere, and I didn't appreciate at the time really she was my assistant's dog. I didn't go anywhere without her, and she was my best mate. And because I'm one of those people that I've come to understand a service gene. So you have a desire to serve, that fills your cup. And when the people who were running the charity at the time said, oh, can you help us out? We've got a bit of trouble. What can I do to help? Yes, the next thing I knew was on the board of directors and well and truly waist deep in it. And before that, I had been raising my children, working with bees, going to beekeeping clubs so I could learn about being a good beekeeper.
Pick your brain about that too. So.
Yeah. And selling honey at the markets on the weekends, recycling things, veggies and fruit from my garden when they were abundant. You know, I like to share them. I think it's a kind of cool, groovy community thing. Plus, there's lots of interesting people that would come along. There was a family that had come from Afghanistan. They spoke very little English, but they'd all come and they could negotiate very well about honey. So they'd always want 2 jars for the same price. And I kind of thought that was fair because nobody else asked. So I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fair. And as the work at Young Diggers got busier and busier, I gave up doing markets and ascribed to the beekeeping method of checking your hives once a year. Less disturbing. There's actually a book about it. And I'm like, yes, I can ascribe to that methodology. And now I find myself doing markets, selling things like dog treats and snuffle mats to raise money for the organisation. So
the organisation Young Diggers, this morning you invited me to a breakfast for Veteran Mental Health Week, or Veteran Health Week. Young Diggers is, if you don't know already, is a veteran assistance dog, or like a service dog, assistance dog for veterans. Yeah.
Yes. So we used to be 10 years ago, 2013, when it started, it was like the few SOs that were around there, next service organisations, started by Vietnam veterans who were annoyed at the RSL and went, I'm going to start my own organisation. So they did welfare advocacy. I think there was a lot of sitting around and smoking cigarettes and drinking Coke and most importantly smoking inside because it was against the rules, and no women and a pool table. And I'm not exactly sure how they got involved with the Defence Community Dogs program, but they were, I think because they'd had a lot of veterans through the door doing the advocacy work, like filling out compensation claims. That was the big ticket. They probably saw that as you've got lots of veterans on your books, partnered with Defence Bank, started the Defence Community Dogs program, which was linked to the Bathurst program back in the day. So they found dogs that were rescue dogs, pounds, RSPCA, etc. They must have done some suitability with them, took them down to Bathurst prison where the dogs were trained in the Bathurst prison by the women for about 3 months, and then they had veterans that wanted a dog. The veterans chose a dog, they took them down to Bathurst, got them a dog, a jacket, an ID card, an hour's worth of training in some cases, and off they went. and they supplied about 700 dogs over the period of time they were involved, which was a lot of dogs. So some of those dogs are still around. I've met one of the original dogs who's 13 years old now, and her handler probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Mika.
Yep.
And he's coming to terms with the end of Mika's life. And he's in a space now where he's planning to go and do things like to go with one of his mates, travel up the coast, go fishing. He's getting his four-wheel drive together, and for a long time that was not a possibility.
I just realised my cane was probably in the video.
Okay, that's all right. His life was coping, living isolated out in the bush, and I'm really pleased for him that having his best friend, his little dog, has assisted him to get to a level where he's able to make some choices for his own life, and that's when we came on board about 3 years ago. We could see that the huge and immediate problem in the veteran space was veteran suicide, and which everybody would be aware of, and it's touched many people. So assistance dogs work. The application of assistance dog as a rehabilitation aid for suicidality, PTSD, depression, anxiety, it works. It works when it's applied at the right time and it's a right dog and it's supported. We looked at the program and revised it. Many of the dogs that had come through the Bathurst program were not successful in getting to full accreditation, meaning they're the PAT jacket that you might see veterans in walking around out in the public space, meaning shopping centres, doctors, hospitals, etc. And then I said, well, if you are talking about somebody who's like standing on the edge of the cliff and you want to give them a tool to support them, then you have to give them the best tool that you can, right? And so we started the Fit for Purpose puppy program. Some of the old school weren't very happy about it. And they weren't able to transition and update themselves to peer-reviewed, researched application of the assistance dog. So rather than just being, here mate, he's a dog, and go and get pissed and you'll feel better, and no, you're not suicidal, you just need to drink more. Moving from that model to research-based, because there's an enormous amount of research from America, from the UK, France, Germany, England, Spain, where veterans from all over the world using assistance dogs. So we've dug into that information and applied what we've learnt from research-based methods, where we advocate that the veteran has the right to choose the assistance dog program. So DVA currently offers, once you get into the program and you're approved, here's a picture of your dog, here's a picture of your puppy, but you're not going to be able to touch it for 18 months because we'll be training it, and in 18 months' time you can have that trained dog back. And what's wrong with that picture? A puppy...
18 months. Well, the veteran itself has 18 months without any support.
That's correct.
One thing. The puppy's going to, for me, would imprint on that person training them, and then all of a sudden there's a new owner that they have to learn that trust, and it's probably a 2-year long process just with that. But I don't know, that's just off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, that's from your real world experience. So, and anybody who's listening who's had the opportunity, particularly in childhood, to meet a puppy, cuddle a puppy, smell a puppy, play with a puppy, have a puppy go to sleep on them, it's something that you never forget, because it's healing. It's connecting you to something where the puppy's really, it's pretty awesome,
The bond between, talking from my experience, I have a dog, 3 years old, Winston, my absolute best mate, and as you said before, I don't think I'd be here if I didn't have Winston. I have a daughter, I have family, friends and all that, but when it came to my suicidal thoughts, I didn't consider them, but when I was in my worst, I knew I had to walk my dog. and I had look, to get me out of the house, and then I'd be out of the house, and I'd be getting sunshine, and I'd be getting exercise, and then dopamine, and I may come back to the house feeling a little bit better, and then by the night time I'm back in my depressed and suicidal thing, but at least for a period of that day. And then you're feeling shit and tired and depressed, and there was a period there for like a year I couldn't get off the couch, but my dog would come up and cuddle me, and there's always that unconditional love, and it's the most healing. I just have to look at my dog for 3 seconds, and I start laughing, and I'm instantly in a good mood now, just from looking at him.
That's the magic ingredient that if you read any of the research, peer-reviewed articles that have been published about assistance dogs or psychiatric assistance dogs, depending on whether, and there's quite a bit of research that's come from Australia. I've been amazed that the papers have done all of the psychometrics where, you know, anybody who's gone in for suicidality, you know, depression, anxiety, PTSD, where they fill out the tick and flick about, you know, this week between 0 and 10, you know, how much do you feel like killing yourself? And between 0 and 10, how many times have you thought about killing yourself? And then they'll repeat the question down the paper to make sure you're telling the truth. And most of us aren't idiots and go, well, I've already answered that. And
those questions are so... It also reminded me of, you know, there was this question in the army you'd get asked, and it would be about drinking and how often do you drink? But the options they give you is like once a day, or like daily, monthly, year, like, and you're just like, oh, I drink like random. You know,
yeah.
Like, I don't have set times or anything, and
it's the pigeonholing.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's the pigeonholing in that I found offensive
Yeah.
in the amount of times that I was asked to fill a form in, and that lurking, and I know we all know it, the stigma of disclosing a mental illness. And that's the biggest barrier to getting better. And whether that's the barrier from being in the military because you suck it up buttercup, you know, if you go to the RAP and the crusty old sergeant sitting there going bludger, you know, there's no way you're going to go and, you know, if your arm's not hanging down about there somewhere because you've dislocated it, or your finger's not the wrong way because you've broken it, and there's not blood coming from somewhere, then you're a bludger and a jackman, and you are shamed into hiding that. And that was, you know, that was interesting about what Dr. Andrew Koo was talking about this morning, was that the earlier that a person is able to disclose that they are having mental health problems or mental health challenges, having suicidal thoughts, right? Because it's not a normal state to have a suicidal thought. That's really what it's saying, is your brain is lying to you. It's not functioning the way that it's meant to be. If that was a normal thing, there would be no human race, because our instinct is to survive. And when you've been in the military and you've been in those situations of combat, training for combat, training to support people in combat, your objective is to survive. And you find the superhuman strength there to like do what it takes to survive. So it's not a normal state. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So step one, recognise your brain is lying to you. If it says, oh, things would be better if you weren't here. And, oh, people would be better off, like your family would be better off. That's how my voice talks to me. It's really naggy. And, you know, life would be so much easier if you weren't here. It's like, I know you're lying. You know, go away. And that I get haunted by that. So that's the suicide ideation. It's the constant suicidal thoughts coming through the head. It's when you get to the how you're going to do it, the planning. That is when you need to put your hand up and go, I'm not well. Yeah? And your mates know, your friends know, your family knows, your partner knows. When they say, you okay? And you go, yeah, I'm all right. And it's like, stop lying, you know? Because the reason those people are asking is because they love you. They care about you. And if you're listening to this and you're in that space, please reach out. You know, it takes a lot of courage to be known and honest for who you are. And in talking about suicide, when a veteran or someone who's successful in taking their life, their parents, their grandparents, their brothers and sisters, their partner or ex-partner or ex-partners, if that's, you know, their children and their children's children, right, and all the people that they served with who know them, the trauma that goes out into that group of people, right, is immense. and it doesn't go away.
I'm carrying some right now.
Yeah, it never.
Who killed himself last year. I'm carrying a lot of trauma from that. I feel completely responsible.
And you're not.
No, I'm trying to tell myself I'm not.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I outrank you, so I'm telling you, you're not. and that's a survivor's guilt thing. It's because you can't make sense of it. So you take that on board for yourself and you go, well, the only way I can make sense of it is that it must have been my fault. And that's classically people who are...
If I did more, if I did something more, made one extra phone call,
Yeah, and the reason that person was successful with suicide is because they'd planned it. And they'd planned it to be successful and they'd hidden it from everybody. And there is nothing at that point in time that you could have said or done, right, that would have made any difference.
Once that decision is 100% made.
When they get super calm and they've got all their affairs in order and yes. So there is no cure for suicide. There's people who've been impacted by that. The waves of that are 8 times more likely to take their own lives, right, because they're left with that question of like, that they failed that person, that they could have done more. Why did they not tell me? I thought they loved me. And I've met partners who thought everything was fine and found their partner in the garage, gone. And they've got to live with that for the rest of their lives. But when you're in that space where you want to exit your corporeal form, no, you don't think about it. But what you do think about is your dog. Weirdly enough, what about my dog? And I can say from experience, that's exactly what I've thought too.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because the dog has only ever shown you unconditional love? Whereas like, I don't know,
Let's throw it out there, yeah.
Just the thoughts popped into my head. Why do we think about dogs like that compared to, like for me, my daughter or my partner or whatever it was at the time?
People that you love, that love you, yeah.
Is it? I wonder why that is. Is it because there's never been there's not normally any drama between an owner and a dog? You know, it's normally just love. And you, in that moment, or just thinking about me when I've been in those moments, you
breathe.
I don't want to feel ashamed.
Yes.
And your dog doesn't give you shame or
No.
judgment or anything. So that's probably why I'm just thinking about, like, yeah.
There's also that you are responsible for the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that sense of responsibility and purpose, when you're flat out looking after yourself, and in fact you don't even want to look after yourself because you've given up, you don't care, but something in you, a spark ignites in you, a sense of hope, a sense of purpose, that dog trusts me to look after them. I don't want to let them down, right? And I think that indelibly in our spirit, in our soul, that we recognise another sentient life form. We recognise it. And something in us honours that sentient life form that loves us unconditionally, whether we're feeling really crap, being okay, being happy, joyful, being angry, not speaking to them, right? They forgive us and...
They give you 10 seconds later.
Absolutely, and they're still...
Be angry, and then 10 seconds later, is at my feet.
Yeah, ridiculously happy to see us when they haven't seen us for...
You're just not angry anymore.
Happy...
Like, or like whatever emotion you're going through, they're just like, oh, you done? Okay, cool, love you.
Yeah, puppies don't care about your mood, because puppies are going to love you no matter what, which is why it brings me nicely back to the point about the DBA program, and I've had some conversations with the psychosocial people to say you don't even offer the veteran the possibility of working from puppy stage through. You assume that they don't have the capacity or they don't want. You've never even asked them. Oh, I mean, that doesn't mean they're an owner trainer. It means they train with an organisation. And let's have a look at the people we're talking about, the demographic who are veterans, whether they've flown, marched, you know, swam, paddled, sailed, and first responders as well, because they also are paramilitary. They wear a uniform, they respond in the face of danger, they put their life on the line.
And I just want to bring this up because this isn't really known when it comes to our emergency services. They don't have an equivalent like VBA. We, as veterans, are very well looked after.
Yeah, they've got nothing.
They've got nothing. They don't have
DVA.
DVA at all. Like they're even an equivalent, and that's actually really shocking and sad.
It's just
fireys and paramedics go through more. Look, not more. Look, I'm not comparing, but look on a day-to-day, their day-to-day job is a lot, and then for not to have the support like DVA.
Their day-to-day, many police officers and paramedics, their day-to-day work is battle zone.
Yeah.
85 to 90% of their work is domestic violence, and it's
should not be supported.
And it's repeated. Yeah. They go back to the same house, and it's pandemic in this country, but we don't talk about it. And I defy anybody to say that they're okay with that. Police are the blue line where they don't disclose because they also have to suck it up because that's just their job, right? They are also suffering. And I went to the Officer of the Year Awards hosted by the Lions and by the Rotary last month for the Moreton Bay region, and I think it should be everywhere. Every state should have it. They should honour these people at the above and beyond. We do. If you've been to a campaign, you're awarded recognition as a medal, and in some circumstances where there hasn't been that recognition because they didn't say it was a war zone like Border Force, they are now starting to go, yes, you were faced with threats to your life, you saw people die, it's their recognition of service. And I think the same needs to be done for emergency services because they put their life on the line so that we can sit here calmly and talk, and if I had a heart attack or something, we could call 000 and competent people would come and help us, and we could go somewhere and be treated. That's a privilege in Australia. It's a privilege that we fought for. My ancestors, your ancestors, we fought for that. And young diggers primarily started with ADF, but first responders are also part of that. Many of the ADF, when they leave, they'll go and do coppering for a while. They might do custodial work in prisons, security work, paramedics. Service, because they serve.
That's what we do.
That's the service gene. So we also support them. A little bit harder to tap into, and it's usually because one of their mates has been brave and connects with this, gets a dog, and then says to, well, this is working for me, So on that note, we don't charge anything. We will take the person with their dog. We test the dog for suitability, and if it's suitable, then they enter the program. So that's what DVA doesn't support currently. Okay. So there's no funding for them or us if they go that route. Otherwise, they wait for 18 months.
So how do you get funding?
I
know this morning was supposed to be a bit of a fundraiser.
Well, yes, we hoped that it would be a fundraiser, but that really wasn't the case because it cost a lot of money to put on the breakfast at Parliament House, but that's the only way that you can get people who are in positions of responsibility.
There were some big people there too.
There were some big people there. And standing out the front with placards or banging on doors or doing sausage sizzles at Bunnings. We do those things. We make dog treats and sell them. One of the guys has been really passionate about that, but that doesn't pay the big bills. So buying a good dog, a fit-for-purpose dog, it's about $4,500, and that's comparable with like what guide dogs would use. So yes, those dogs are Labradors, but the bottom line is they're really good at what they do. It's just indelibly in them. They're very good at understanding the human. They can tell when the human's not travelling well. They are resilient. They are always happy. They have a bottomless well, as one 11-year-old girl, Bella said that...
It's my daughter's name.
Bella? Oh.
Isabella, and then we call her Bella. Yeah.
So Isabella, who's David's daughter, and David was the recipient of the last puppy that we delivered, called Astro, and known as Cyclone Astro. Like, because when he got to my house, he was just like, it was like a whirlwind. And I'm like, well, you need to go to your dad, just because he's ready to be with the person, just full of it. And Bella wrote a little story for the magazine. We do a magazine twice a year, which is full of the stories of the people and how they're going with their dogs. And she just said that he had like an endless well of hugs. And that Dad was so much better since they'd had Astro, that she'd seen her dad happy and out of the mouths of babes, you know. And it's such a proud thing to do. It's such a, for me, to serve in that capacity where you are assisting another veteran to reclaim their life and to reclaim their life with dignity, you know, because they haven't done anything wrong. When you have a mental illness, it is not your fault. You haven't done anything wrong. There is nothing wrong with you genetically. You know, your coping mechanisms are normal. You have experienced trauma, you know, and that compartmentalisation that you are taught in the military, where you've got to put that away and don't let it impact you so you can function as part of the machinery. Yeah, absolutely. That's a method that's used. Otherwise the military wouldn't work, right? It's when you come out that those things start to filter up and can become overwhelming and exhibit as a mental illness, right? So, and the stigma around it is what we really need to work on. So, you know, just to shout out, if you're listening to, when you're listening to this, if you're bullying somebody who isn't travelling very well, who might be upset about something, who don't want to go out and don't want to join in, they're withdrawn, assist them. Yeah, don't friggin' well laugh at them. You know, they are suffering, and that's the least we can do.
You don't know what's going on in anyone's life.
No.
No one's life. And you could be there being mean, bullying or whatever, and someone in their family might have died the day before, or you know what I mean? Like, it
absolutely.
You have no idea what's going on in their life, and what's a kid serve you anyway?
And my kids, when they first went to school, and one of them has Asperger's, so reading the social landscape is almost impossible for them. That's one of the challenges. And she was getting bullied, but she didn't even realise what it was. And then when she started to understand that that's what was happening, and said to me, why would people do that? And I was really confronted as a parent and as a human being about why would people do that? And so my feedback for my kids was, don't take it personally, right? Kids, when they're born, are a blank tablet. They come out with nothing inscribed on them, and they learn behaviour. So they learn from home conditioning, and that they see what goes on in the family home, what happened with parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles, brothers and sisters. They learn that behaviour. So when they come and exhibit that behaviour at school, it's because they've seen it somewhere else. They've been bullied. You know, they might have been abused. They become abusers. So I said to my kids, so take a step back and have a think about what's going on for them, that they've learnt that behaviour. It took a little bit for them, but they got it.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I was really pleased because they went, wow, there must be something pretty horrible going on for them. And as time unfolded, and then my girls are both like older now, 18, 19, going to uni, that sort of thing, we've reflected on it, and stories have unfolded of families where we did find out that there were things going on at home that shouldn't have been going on, you know. And the very, very difficult thing for us of people who are called to serve, who want to make a difference, is that when we're not able to do anything. For me, that's probably the hardest thing, is when I see stuff going on that shouldn't be going on, especially with kids and things like that. And because of the system we have, until there's been a recordable offence that people have been charged with, you can't do anything. That's.
I have contemplated putting on the Batman suit.
Yeah, good, mate. Haven't we all? Yeah. So, my heart bleeds for the people who worked hard to get to serve their country, who were deployed overseas as peacekeepers, and sat and watched.
We're talking about one today. I sat next to one today.
Rwanda in Somalia.
Yeah, that was
soul destroying. So that when they have,
4,732 people get killed.
Murdered.
You can't do anything about it.
Murdered.
And then to go through and you've got to count the bodies and you just yeah.
So that guy that you're talking about, I have great respect for him in that he carries an enormous weight, an enormous burden of a moral injury.
Like
yes.
I asked him today if he'd be happy to jump on a podcast. I hope to have a chat with him about that because I don't know
How he copes.
how he copes.
He's a remarkable individual.
And him and all the other soldiers that were there, I don't know how, with a moral injury like that, I don't know how he copes. As you said, remarkable.
And what about the discipline to be there
Yep.
with very fit teams to watch because you're there as observers and to be taunted by the people who were proliferating the massacre by waving around decapitated children and things like that. Sorry, but, it's something that needs to be spoken about because it's not talked about and it's not acknowledged what some of our people have needed to face overseas in the name of peace.
Yeah, trauma doesn't just have to come from being blown up or shot or shooting someone in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to come from a war zone. You can have trauma from being in a unit and never deploying. Not from not deploying, but there can be trauma that happens inside of a unit.
Absolutely.
With bullying or any of that. That's all classed as trauma and should be classed, and is classed under mental health. But most people, when they think of veteran trauma, they think of PTSD, which is a big side of things, and it's a huge, huge thing. We also I think we still need to talk about the rest of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that I very much believe that until things get put on the table where it's clear and present that we are not able to heal that trauma and learn from it, because that's the big thing. Mm-hmm. Like Rwanda and Somalia, our guys going there, having to sit on the hill and do a body count. What did we learn from that experience? Yes, it was absolutely horrific, and human beings are vile in some aspects, absolutely vile. And what was the takeaway? What did we learn from that? That we never, we never do that again. That's not peacekeeping. Yeah.
How do we deal with the soldiers after they come back from something like that?
Absolutely, and should indeed we go, well, no, our people aren't going to witness that. If you're not going to let them intervene and stop that massacre, then, and that's well out of my pay grade to debate that, but I find that as a huge moral problem, and it needs to be acknowledged by the government that
it's not. Did I go to Philippines? Whatever year that was, 2013 or something, it was a super typhoon that went through and killed 9,000 Filipinos. And they sent this contingent of 100 Australians to help go deal with that. We're going there expecting to see 9,000 bodies to go sift through, like
Banderacho.
Yeah, similar to that. But no, we didn't have anyone come and talk to us about anything. What we got told is it's probably going to stink. Here's the body bags. This is how you use them. And I don't know if any thought got put into
how you were deployed.
Yeah.
And the thing,
it was an instant reaction force. Call up next day deploying.
Same as Banderacho.
Yeah.
I think Christmas night guys got the call.
Yeah.
I've spoken to one of the guys that was on a chopper that went out there, and they were on the ground, and so the first part was rescuing people that they were able to, and then lots of amputations in the next 24 hours, and then big army arrived, like the Americans and stuff, and then 3 months of cleaning up.
Yeah, I've spoken to some guys that was walking through mud, and they're just waiting to hit something with their legs, and then reach down and pull out an arm.
Yeah.
I don't know how you prepare someone for that, and I don't know what they're doing afterwards for stuff like that.
And I think that they should. If you're going to deploy people to a zone where there's been a disaster like that, and I mean all over the world, there's deployment of people that go to places like that with searching for bodies and recovering bodies.
We were there with a contingent of there was Americans, there was Italians, French, there was people from all over the world came because it was such a big disaster. And so there is, as you're saying, there's thousands of people deploying all the time for disasters like this, and I don't know what steps or protocols are in place to help them deal with it.
I know they have counsellors and trauma counsellors that are on site that assist the people. I think that preparation before you go to say this is a major event. These are the things that you will see. So at least mentally you can prepare yourself for that rather than, and that's the flip side when you're just saying that vileness of like what happened in Somalia and Rwanda, is that there's the flip side about how amazing human beings can be, that they've gone with an open heart, open hands to assist, to save, to rescue, to deal with the yuckiness of that trauma. And I have great admiration for people that did that.
It's absolutely astounding that every single veteran I've met would die for anyone else, or they will happily take on that trauma so someone else doesn't have to take on that trauma. And it's absolutely astounding. Like, I do the same. And then you go out to this real world, and then everyone's not nice, and they won't do that, and they're not selfless, and they're not giving service, and it's all about them. And it's, yeah.
And that's why, right? That is why we who put a uniform on and we take that oath, we ask ourselves that question, am I prepared to do this? Would I take the bullet for my mate? Fucking absolutely. There's a sense of purpose and integrity and moral compass that's there that drives you to do that. If that's not how it ticks for you, then it becomes very obvious to everybody else this is not where you should be. So if there weren't a percentage of us in the world, because it exists in every culture, where people have that selflessness and that compassion and that empathy to reach out and put themselves in the way of harm to relieve somebody else, to assist them, then there would be no human race, because we would have killed each other.
My dad tells my sisters are younger than my daughter, either want to be 13, want to be 11, 12, around that. He tells them, he was in the army, he says, whenever there's an incident, people screaming and if there's people running towards the thing, that's who you follow. They're the brave, the ones that know what the fuck's happening, what they're doing and everything, and everyone else is just running, and who knows, and you're going to get trampled.
And the thing is, we're not all the same. Human beings aren't all the same, and we know that. We know that from an intellectual point of view, from a physiology point of view. We know that from being at school and the genetics of your parents and your upbringing, all the rest of it. And some people are wired that way, where they want to assist and they want to help because that fills their cup up. It makes them feel good and makes them feel connected to community. And that's the fabric that gets woven around the world, that continues our existence. Because if that wasn't there, then we'd be barbaric and destructive. And there'd be nothing left. We would have destroyed each other. The idiots in charge would have pushed the button. So we offer hope.
Beautiful.
And we hope to rebuild trust. And that's the basis of what we do in YD. Those things are critical elements of helping somebody to step back from the edge of the cliff, because they're not going to unless there is some hope that life could offer them something, And I could tell a story about Brad, our first fit for purpose puppy, and I got a lot of flack from the old brigade. Well, we're not spending that money on a bloody dog, friggin' blah, 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 cigarettes, blah, blah, blah. Put this money on number 2 at Randwick, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, and I got funding. I went to one of the guys, More Media, that have been supporting us for about 10 years. They do 2 magazines a year for us. They sell the advertising space that covers the cost of printing the mag. The mag's good because it's in hospitals, and we've had people that have arrived and gone, you've done this for this guy, could you help me? And I'm like, good, excellent, And plus the stories. It's not RSL, manufactured literature, with, oh, look, I'm a mate. It's actually real stories and real pictures, so that, because vets know crap, they smell it a mile away, they know bullshit. And so we got $4,500, which was a lot of money for the dog. Very good breeder, police officer and his wife, been breeding labs for about 18 years. And honestly quite remarkable people considering the stuff they've had to deal with on a daily basis. I have great admiration for them. So, and the pup got 4 weeks training, 8 to 12 weeks of environmental training with our then dog squad manager, who was a war dog handler, medic, deployed in lots of places, and a remarkably compassionate, composed man. And off she went to meet Brad. And Brad said, for the first time in 8 years, he had some hope, because he'd given up. He just went, nobody cares. I've come out of service. He did 17 years doing Border Force, and I wouldn't even repeat some of the things that he said because they were so revolting and horrific that I don't think it's okay that the Australian public doesn't know what those people were faced with in stopping people coming into the country who only wanted to come in here to do damage. You know, the refugee thing, not everybody's like little cute kids with the wife. It's all guys and people who want to do damage. So, and when he said that, he called the puppy Hope River, because he said, every morning when I wake up and she's lying there looking at me, hope runs through my veins like a river. And I went, that's very poetic and profound for somebody who was in the Navy. Like, what have you been smoking, or what did you steal, you know? And he's an insightful man, and a man with a beautiful heart, and a dad, and estranged from his wife, and all of those things because of the demons that haunt him. And I realised that those people, the people who go, I'm going to sign up because I want to make a difference and I want to keep back the forces of darkness or evil or whatever, right? That's why I'm doing it. They do that because they're kind people. They do that because they're caring people. Yes, there's the odd psycho that signs up, but, you know, and we all know that. But they often don't last. But those people who are generally there because they care, they're the ones that of course they're traumatized, because nobody ever prepared them for the fact that other human beings could be so awful, dreadful. You know, like, there aren't words that aren't swear words to describe what those people are, and we all know that. And that's why, if you're traumatized because of that, it's because you're a human being that cares. You have a heart, you know. If you're not traumatised by it, either you're compartmentalising it, or you probably need to go and speak to somebody about the fact that you don't have any empathy.
You know, be one of those psychos, you just don't know it yet.
Quite possibly. So he called a Hope River, and there's a picture behind you there. It's an Indigenous painting that he did.
They see it. They can see.
Yeah. So we went to a Moving Beyond Trauma course down in a place called Quest for Life down in Bundanoon in New South Wales, and you do a 3-day course, and then there's a 5-day. It's live-in. It's supported by DBA. It isn't about unpacking the trauma. It's about acknowledging the trauma and understanding how your brain changes from trauma, and about ways that you can start to help your brain to heal. And he painted that while we were there for the 5 days to explain our journey of 3 of us coming together with 3 dogs, and that the colours in the top were about the different regions of flora and dirt that people had travelled to come to that meeting place. The 3 of us, our 3 dogs. The little yellow dotted circles were us going there, and then coming out the other side, the circles have grown, and that's because some of us learnt a lot and we grew. Some people less so, some people not at all. But that was his observations of the week, which I thought were insightfully profound.
And then put into that beautiful piece of art.
That's exactly right. And I have a new respect of understanding about the storytelling of what transpired in that week. You know, that about the connection that he has with his dog. She knew within several weeks that he wasn't well, and he thought she was being naughty and put her in the crate. And then he woke up on the kitchen floor about 7 hours later. He had some episode where he just passed out. The next time it happened, he was trying to put her in the crate. She was trying to tell him something, and he woke up on the floor with her scratching at him and licking him and trying to wake him up. And he put 2 and 2 together that she was actually indicating that he was about to have an episode. So fast forward to the medical people putting like in a cardiac device, thinking it's that, all that kind of crap. They still haven't found out what it is that's doing it, but the dog knows. The dog knows. So then rather than saying he's taught the dog already knew. So the right dog gets it. They smell you, they read what's going on, and she's like, oi, Dad.
They bond.
They totally.
Yeah.
80% of the work is the bond, right? So now he's shaped that task, meaning rather than her just biting him on the hand, he's worked out what she's trying to tell him in a way of like, put your paw up, come and poke me, sit, annoy the hell out of me. So, okay, right, is it what's going on? And he's taught her to, if he goes down at home, she pushes a button on the wall, which is a critical alarm. If he's out in public, he's the only, well, we've got one other guy, but he's the only one that walks her off lead, because the rules are the guidance, the dog has to be on effective control and on lead. For him, if he goes down, she goes and gets someone and brings them back to assist him. It's got a little sign on her going, if my dad's down, he's not drunk, he needs help. He's not a drunk veteran.
Is that what the sign says?
No,
Okay.
just no, but he needs assistance. And so he's worked that out for himself. He is self-managing the condition. He is living independently, right? He's trained the dog far beyond what the requirements are for public access test, the PAT, and he's looking after his kids every other week.
Changed his life. Completely changed it.
He's got a horse.
Yeah.
He's got a new lady. He's moving on with his life. It's not all, ponies and butterflies. There's still challenges. However, he's making plans, and so he's doing a Cert 2 in animal behaviour, wants to come and work in this space with dogs, with veterans, because he gets it. He's had a profound experience, life-changing experience. So there are outcomes from the program where veterans see a place for themselves where they can go, I can give back in this capacity, and he has a lot to offer. I'm really proud of him. It's really weird. I can't help it, but I am really proud of the guys, because when I see them do that, I rejoice as another human being going, I'm so proud of you, that was really tough, and I know that it was tough for you, but you did it. You earned that, because he goes, oh, Kaz, you've saved my life. And I'm like, no, mate, I haven't saved your life. I'm not the fairy godmother. I don't have a magic wand. If I did, I wouldn't be doing the job I'm doing, and I would have done something about these wrinkles. And he's going, oh, no. And I went, you had the courage to go, I'm not well. You had the courage to reach out and say, I think an assistance dog. You went through all the process with us. You trusted us, right? We got you a dog, right? It wasn't a magic wand, you had to work. And I know sometimes she's annoyed the crap out of you, want to go to the toilet at 2 o'clock in the morning, Dad. But he's managed that. He's achieved that. And in your heart, that gives you back some confidence, because when you've served, self-confidence.
Little wins every day builds your self-confidence.
It also is part of the neuroplasticity about how the brain heals itself. So it does heal itself, and it's published research. If you want to hit me up about it, if you want to argue about it, I can point you to some peer-reviewed articles. Please, bring it on. So small tasks with a successful outcome and repeated. That is how you go from this is the PTSD area of the brain, and I'm working my way around it. So it's not actually growing new synaptic pathways, but it's finding another way instead of going here to trauma land. And it works, because I see guys, I've met guys who haven't been out of the house when they got back from Afghanistan, 2 years, didn't go out of the house because they couldn't, right? With their dog, one guy's onto his second dog now. He's a cub leader with his son.
Nice.
They're going to cubs. He takes his dog with him. His second dog is a coolie. I don't even know what they were, but they're an Australian breed dog that they're kind of like they're a working breed, but there were coolie dogs in Afghanistan. I didn't even know. And apparently they were the best of the best because they could handle the conditions. So they're like a sheepdog, right? So he goes and does some sheep work. He's learning to move sheep with his dog because that's scratching the itch for the dog that's got that drive. And And the look on his face when his dog arrived, he was just so happy that something veteran related was being given back to him in a wholesome way that was enabling him to go and live his life on his own terms. You know, that's the whole point, is to give the veteran independence and dignity with their dog. You know, if it's their dog and it's suitable, we will work with them. If they don't have the right dog, we'll help them find the right dog. We'll look at all the processes that we need to go, is that suitable? And if they're in financial hardship, then we get them a dog, and we get them a good dog. You know, we get them a good dog, because when you're in a battle for your life, you need equipment that is reliable and works. You know, so these dogs, particularly the labs, because they've just got it in spades, they just know what they're doing. You know, that's the remarkable thing about them. The last dog that went to Dave, he had a couple of weeks training with Brad down in Nowra. Brad went to the cardiac clinic because he had to, because he's got the, you know, check my heart, because maybe that's why I'm passing out. So he had Hope River and Astro. Cyclone Astro. Okay. So Astro's watching Hope River, who's an older sibling from another litter, and he's learning from her. He's watching what she does. They were sitting in the cardiac clinic in the waiting room. There's a guy over in the corner that both dogs were like looking at this guy, and he's like, "Oh, sit down and behave yourselves." And he just said they were indicating they wanted it. So he said, I got up, went over to the guy, said, "Look, my dog's a bit concerned about you. Are you okay?" And the guy went, "Oh, been feeling a bit weird. I'm actually got a bit of a pain in my chest." So Brad goes, "I think this man needs some help," you know. Calls people over. The guy's having a heart attack. So the dogs knew before he even knew. Brad rings me up, and God bless him, he cried because he just went, "Kaz, Hope knew, but so did the puppy. He's got it too." And I went, hallelujah. And the fact that he was overjoyed that we had another dog that had the similar skill, that was going to another veteran that needed that. The dog goes, "I can tell you're not well. I'm going to come and sit on you and lick your face.
How amazing.
I will lick your face until you engage with me and laugh. And even if you put me on the ground, I'm going to get up and lick your face again." And that's how he rolls, you know. And that's the guy whose daughter Bella said, Daddy's so much happier since we have Astro, you know. And I'm like, and I'm so grateful and humbled that I get to be a little part of that, of like, "Oh, here's some joy. I'm going to move joy to your square on the table. You've got to deal with it. That's your thing. You're earning that." But I get to see it.
And not even just joy for one person.
Oh.
Like for the families and like, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And when I think where I was 3 years ago, like selling honey at the market and teaching meditation, nobody was more surprised than me that I'd end up back in the veteran space. And I'm so glad that I am. You know?
Because you, I don't think we've mentioned it, but you are a veteran yourself.
Yeah.
You were in the Air Force.
Mm-mm.
You're not Air Force?
If I was in the Air Force, life would have been so much easier.
And you got paid more.
Yeah. I know. Army. Truckie.
Do you want to talk about that? Like a little bit of background about your service, like your truckie, what you use, or... You don't have to go too much into it if you don't want.
No, well, I never talked about my service after I left because I was a reservist, and reservists were frowned upon. Like we didn't really serve, chocos and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And it was always having to manage that when I was in service, where I'd just get shit put on me because I was a reservist. Not so much about being a woman, but the reservist was the bigger target to kick, because you weren't really in the army. The thing is, though, that I had to work really hard at my job to be as good as my ARR counterpart, my full-time counterpart, because they would look to trip you up all the time. So you had to be as good, if not better than them. That was challenging, and maintain your dignity. And And rank is a privilege. You know, it isn't about people polishing your shoes or, you know, you get to order people around. Rank is a privilege of service. So being a good leader is looking after your troops and assisting them so they can be the best at what they do, you know, and they're effective then in the team. And I was really fortunate to have some good instructors, and I got an operational posting when I graduated, and one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It was amazing to work with a team and to get to know them and to function as a group, and to be very aware of what was going on with them at home, with themselves. You know, one of the guys was up for promotion for sergeant, and he didn't want to take his sergeant's exam. He was a corporal, and he was good at what he did. And the sergeant, the old sergeant, just went, "Oh, I need to speak to him, ma'am." You know, and I'm like, and this guy was huge, and I was like, I remember sitting in the office thinking, "Back up, he doesn't knock me out," you know, trying to be present. And I'm like, "Crow, what's going on? No, you don't want to do your sergeant," you know, and I'm like, I just went, "You're more than capable of doing it." Like, what? It took a while, and it took me sharing something about my life, where I'd failed at something and was really embarrassed about it, but they gave me the opportunity to come back and redo it. And actually, yeah, and I've pulled that story out a couple of times because nobody likes being humiliated. It's completely the worst, right? And then he'd said, "I can't read and write. I can't do the sergeant's exam because I can't read and write." And in that moment, I felt such compassion for him, overwhelming compassion and overwhelming empathy, and also like I admired him for having the courage to say that. And I went, "Well, you've got a driver's license. You've obviously been able to manage to get this far, you know, and a truck license and all the rest of it. You will be able to take those exams with reasonable adjustment, meaning if you need the questions read out to you, then they will, and you'll be able to get through it that way." And I saw his shoulders relax, and he just sat back in the chair, because in his heart he really wanted it. He really wanted that promotion, you know. And he said, are you sure? And I went, "Yeah, don't worry about it." I said, that's the reason a lot of guys come to the military and to the army, is that because at school they were told there was something wrong with them and that they were idiots. So they gravitated towards trades or they went to the army, right? And I said, the truth is a lot of them have got dyslexia or Erling syndrome, where their eyes can't focus on things, or they can't read things properly. So when they can't read out in class, they've got to stand up, read, they get humiliated, everybody knows, they lose that confidence and they can't do it again. So that's come from systemic failure from the education system. I'm going to have a go at the education system as well. That wasn't identified and they weren't supported. So they're not idiots, not at all. You know, they're people who learn differently, not stupid, and they've had to navigate around being able to not read for crying out loud or not being able to write. So he went on and did his sergeant. That was really good. We had some fun. I dodged a few bullets in what I did, but those are the things that I remember, like not when did I get my promotion, because I can't remember, but I remember working with people and I remember thinking what an honour it was. I also did a full-time job where I worked with computers, like as an analyst programmer for 20 years. I got the opportunity to go and work for IBM in the UK, and Army was like, you could do 100 days over in the UK, but you have to tell us exactly where you're going to be living. And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm contracting. So that was kind of where I parted company, and I'd already been singled out to go and work at brigade headquarters because they went, she's got a brain, and all I wanted to do was go bush with trucks and the guys, and that wasn't going to happen anymore. So, but coming into where I am now, all of the things that I learned from working in the roles that I did are the skills that I've applied in this role. And when I started off with some of the guys who've combat veterans and multiple deployments, and and I didn't say veteran, and I just said I served, and I'd always, I was a reservist and expect to get laughed at. One of the guys grabbed me and pulled me aside and went, "Listen, Gibbsy, you served the same as everybody else served, because it's like you did 2 jobs, you had to, you give up your weekends, your holidays."
You're still on call, ready to deploy. There's still so much to it. And I was one of those ones that gave shit to chocos, just because you could. Almost every soldier does.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, we actually don't think any less of reservists, especially now that I'm older. I've got jobs and families. I wish I went reservist, for a lot of it. My body would be a lot better, same as my mental health. But I was one of those people that.
That's right.
Reservist. I'm not going to give you shit now, though.
No.
Choco, but,
yeah.
But yeah.
Grub. We look at Brigadier Hassel, right? And Aaron Hassel served full time, deployed, bright guy. He's been advocating. He's now a reservist and 8 Brigade Commander, right? Because we don't have the resources in Australia for everyone to be full time, and there isn't the work for everyone to be full time. And when people are training to go to war, and there is no war, there's nowhere to go. You've been to Townsville, trouble. Alcohol. So, and other drugs.
Yeah, it was me. I'm a bush soldier.
Yeah.
Do amazing at bush. Send me at bush overseas. That's my. If I'm bored,
you trouble.
I get charged. I've had charges fucking coming down.
And that's been since time immemorial that nations and countries have been training soldiers. If the soldiers aren't engaged in a conflict, then they're trouble. Because they've got all of that energy, they're ready to go, and everything's been training them to and you want to engage and do it. I got told there was a guy that was ready to deploy to Afghanistan, broke his ankle the day before, couldn't deploy, and took his life.
Oh shit!
Yeah, because the whole schism of not everything was all focused into that point of deployment.
I know guys with depression, heavy depression, because they didn't deploy, and they feel like this weight of they feel like they're not good enough, they didn't do their job good enough, that it was like a waste of time. And they feeling it fucking heavy, daily. It's wearing them down, just because they feel we did 10 years and didn't deploy. And they're what the fuck did I do 10 years for?
What was the point?
What was the point of all of this?
And the silver lining is, the big picture is, thank God. You didn't have to go to war. You didn't have to see your mate shot. You didn't lose a limb. You didn't have to.
With the after effects.
Exactly right. But because everything's been primed into that point, it's a very difficult thing to bring back from, and there isn't enough recognition and support for that non-deployment. And even as a reservist, even when we went to whatever it was called, Black Cock or something. It was the Black Rooster or whatever it was, Black Cock.
BBC.
So Operation Desert Storm, that we got put on notice that we potentially could be called up full time, and our job would be that the full time units would deploy, and our job was to train up the next lot and to hold the infrastructure together. And I'm like, really, it's a really good use of resources, So Brigadier Hassel now, who is a reservist, looks after 8 Brigade as a reservist and is pioneering people who've been full-time, come out. They've got fantastic skills, right? Military people have amazing skills. So utilising those skills as a reservist and then redeploying them, they're doing amazing work, And wouldn't we all because we look at that and go, oh yeah, I could get into that, And in the meantime, when we're not well and we get a dog, there are still things that we're doing in the community when we go out with our dog, because we're educating people about assistance dogs and veterans. We're interacting with members of the public. Can I pat your dog? No. Is your dog friendly? Yes, he is, but I bite. Oh, so many comebacks. And then it might be helping out fundraising. It might be that one of the guys has got to a point where he goes, I'm going to go and volunteer for Red Cross. I'm going to go to some of the old age homes where there's veterans in there. I'm going to take my dog for a visit. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's awesome. And the joy, like his face was beaming. Oh, I could make other people feel good. And I'm like, just don't tilt yourself, but do what you're able to do. They're still walking with damage. You know, it's like I've lost a limb, but it's in here somewhere. But they're able to like make commitment or make contribution to community, which is super valid. And it's super important. If we removed all of those elements from Australia, Australia would collapse. Our infrastructure would not cope. The government wouldn't cope because we've been doing all of that, those patching all of those things and looking after people and providing a ton of services. We'd be in trouble as a society.
Well, I found out yesterday, just in the veteran side of things, there's 6,000 ESOs. Can you imagine if we didn't have ESOs to keep us functioning?
Totally. But there needs to be regulation in the ESO.
There does need to be regulation.
Because they're unregulated. And we had 2 spin-offs from Young Diggers when they went, we don't like the way you were doing it, so we're going to go and set up our own. So then there's competition for money, there's bad blood, there's, you know, and there's...
And no one can get funding unless you're a huge charity already.
And you've already got... Ka-ching.
Yeah.
And then there's...
You're a general that knows people.
Yeah, it used to be just sleep with people and you get things, but that doesn't work anymore, you know. And when you said how do we raise funds, it's like people pay me not to pole dance. As reservist.
Yeah, they pay me not to sing.
Pay me not to sing, yeah. Pay me not, please don't pole dance, please put your clothes on. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, reservist, yes, pay me more money. So, Young Diggers.
Young Diggers.
So now let's talk about your dog.
Yes, that was actually my next question.
Was it? Oh, sorry.
I have a dog, Winston, 3 years old. He's my best mate. How would I go about getting him and what requirements are required in order for that process to start? And what is the process and what's the likely outcome?
Do you need food?
No, I'm right.
Is that what's going on?
No, I think I've had too much caffeine today.
Do you?
Yeah. I've had like a V, a couple of coffees, a Coke now. I think my caffeine level is like all jittery.
Is it?
Yeah.
So when
but I also need food.
Yeah. So when dogs yawn, it's usually because they're releasing stress. Yep. I'm just was checking to make sure that.
Well, I had it. So normally I'm in bed by like 8:39, and last night it was like midnight.
Oh.
I was up early today because I was catching up with a friend last night. Up early today for the breakfast. So I'm a bit tired, over caffeinated, haven't eaten. Yeah, I ate a little bit at the breakfast, but not too much.
And Rob wanted a second plate and they wouldn't give it to him.
Yeah,
Shout out to Rod.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rob. And we actually, because we'd overcatered, well, we didn't get the numbers we thought we were going to get, but it wasn't about the money, but the breakfast was more important to get all those people together at the same time and place and, you know, educate them. And that's the thing, when you give them the information, you've got to trust that the seeds fall on the fertile ground somewhere and it comes back. So the first thing I do is go, g'day, I'm Kaz.
Hi, I'm Joel.
G'day, Joel. Nice to meet you, mate. Winston. G'day, Winston. He's a fine looking boy.
He is indeed.
And so tell me about Winston.
Winston is an alien.
Winston the alien.
He's...
How long have you had him?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
So, and where did he come from?
So the day I was still in the army, I was working at 20 EOD, and COVID happened. And then before like everything shut down, they were talking about shutting Queensland down and the rest of Australia down at like a certain date. And I was living in Brisbane, and my daughter was living in Townsville with her mum, but her mum had to keep working, so work graciously gave me, I got to work from home and be and have my daughter full time.
Nice.
And homeschool her. And the day that Brisbane went into lockdown, I picked my daughter up from the airport with my partner at the time. And while we were waiting at the airport, we saw a dog for sale on Gumtree at Ipswich. And then so we picked my daughter up and drove straight out, picked up Winston for $150. And then have never looked back.
So what was it about? Were you looking for a dog at the time?
We'd been looking for a few weeks.
And when you saw the picture?
Didn't see a picture.
Oh, okay. What was it about that ad that...
I think it was the urgency of, because we were going into lockdown, so we couldn't leave.
Okay.
And we didn't know how long for or whatever. I think that was, and it was like, because we were also picking up my daughter that day, it was like a special thing. Like,
Yep.
you know, we're all going into lockdown together, and my daughter's going to be there for who knows how long. We could raise this puppy, and it'd be amazing, and we'd be a nice family. And it just turned out that way, and I rocked up, and he was the only puppy left.
Nice.
And that's how I got him, and yeah.
You haven't looked back.
I haven't looked back.
So you've raised him from a puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so now the questions I would normally ask is, so have you done some obedience work with him?
A lot.
Yeah. Okay, so he's had some training. Does he wee or poo in the house?
No.
Does you go walking with him
Yes.
on a lead?
Yes.
And
And off lead.
off lead. And when you go past other dogs, what does he do?
He's very interested unless I've got a ball.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. Depends. If he's on lead, he sort of leaves them alone.
Right.
If he's off lead, he will want to run up to them.
Okay.
Unless I've got a ball.
So when he's on lead and another dog's come up to him,
Like, he's fine. They get along great.
Yep.
They sniff, and I've never actually seen him, like,
be
be
reactive.
angry with a dog. He stirs dogs up, like walking along the fence. He will like bark at them and scratch at it, stir dogs up and get them barking as we're walking.
No troublemaker.
He is a troublemaker. But like, if that fence opened, they'd be best mates.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's often a call to play. That bark and the bow, it's a call to play. So,
All obsessed.
and is he 2 stone lighter?
Is he what?
Desexed?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're the key points that I'm looking for. So then, and you have a diagnosis of PTSD, depression, anxiety, or suicidality.
For all of them.
All of them, which we call the mental health rainbow. Oh, nice. They'll kind of work together. So that's a diagnosis of a mental health condition. A dog that seems to be suitable, but we run the suitability assessment on it, and those are things that we would be looking for to see whether the dog was reactive. Like if its hackles are going up on the back of its neck and it's snarling and showing its teeth at other dogs, that's reactive. And that you've been bonded with him, working with him, doing some obedience. So that means that you're engaged with working with your dog, and you obviously love your dog. Right? So then what I do is send out the application forms for you. So the application to join with your own dog, a reference, someone who's not a family member, to give a reference, and then something that your psychiatrist or your treating health professional will sign and go. Because psychiatrists are the only ones who can actually say PTSD. They make the diagnosis, sign off, and there's a couple of questions in there about anger management.
If I'm already diagnosed, can I just see, like, do I have to go see another psychiatrist?
No. You'll find that if you've already got a diagnosis, there'll be something with DVA to say you're diagnosed with XYZ. We just need that proof of that, because under the Disability Discrimination Act of 1992, I think it is, and I'm sure there's going to be some people out there who'll try and correct me by looking it up. By all means, please do. Comments, please. That having a having a diagnosis by a qualified professional, right? That in the Act it states that the dog is supporting you with that diagnosis. So things the dogs do that assist you in navigating the world with that mental illness or with that disability, and they've signed off on it. One of the questions we ask the psychiatrist is anger an issue? Like, how's your anger management? And we do that for your welfare and for the welfare of the dog. Once upon a time, legend has it, when they were just giving out dogs, there was a man who was very angry and got a dog and then expressed the anger at the dog, and then the dog departed this life as a result of that. Lest we forget, what were the benefits of that is that we learn that will never happen again, right? So the welfare of the animal is really important to us. They are a sentient creature. even if they can't read and write. That doesn't mean they're stupid. Remember what I said about reading and writing? Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't have this opposable thumb, so, you know. Anyway, so we take that into consideration. Something that DVA will ask is sobriety and abstinence. So they want 18 months of that before you even go on the waiting list. So we're not as strict, but we find by the time people get to us that they've acknowledged drinking and self-medicating, that they've got themselves under control with that, because we won't put a dog into that situation. So once we get those forms back, we then organise a suitability assessment with our trainer and Winston. So you'll meet us at an agreed place, maybe here. We'll do a bit of work in the backyard where it's safe, the paddock, I like to call it, and once country girl. And then we'll go to like pet barn or pet stock, where there's lots of smells and distractions, and it's okay to take your dog in there, Bunnings as well, and test the dog in public space, because that's a good indicator whether they're going to wee on something, growl at someone, and they're under a control of the handler. They pass suitability, then you enter the program, the dog squad program. And hold yourself now for what it's going to cost you. $0.
So because you're paying for it all?
Well, I haven't got any money left anymore because I've put a lot of money into the business just supporting it.
Yep.
And I'm not TPI, so no, I don't get a big fat. I don't get anything, but that's not about me anyway. We raise money for that. So, of course, you've got your dog. You start training once a week, and that's a requirement for us, is that you engage in training on a regular basis. So that's good for you. It's good for Winston. There's regularity there. There's the participation and socialisation coming in. To start with, it's a bit scary because there's a whole bunch of new people and you don't know, and then there could be white knuckles when you're coming in with the lead, right? We train in a safe space here, so when we're training, nobody else comes in. You know, I've had people going, oh, we're going to come and take photos, and I'll speak to them, and, you know, pompous assholes that have come and said, oh, we'll be coming in on, you know, when we train, and we'll speak to the veterans, and I'm like, no, you won't. And, well, we've got money, and I don't care. You know, they're not show ponies. If you want to make an appointment to come and have a talk to me about what we do, then you're quite welcome to. But when the guys are training, this is about them. And they don't need people standing on the sideline going, oh, look at him and look at his dog. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, no.
Especially to veterans, because you bloody get your photo taken, forget to put it anywhere. That's a carton of beer.
Well,
and... Even just, it was a joke.
Yeah, no, I know it was a joke. Well, even with Afghan veterans, when we first started, they were like, a lot of them have changed their names. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, Mr. Taliban went, I'm going to find out where you live and I'm going to come and F you up and your family, blah, blah, blah. And in Arabic, obviously, I paraphrased. And that's how they felt. We took it seriously. So no disclosure of their information. Yes, we're having an IT system built, but the option is if you don't want your information held online, then we hold it manually in paper, locked up in the office, you know, for good reason. And if anybody's good at filing, please give me a hoy.
Or if you want to volunteer a couple of hours a week.
Yeah, mate. Please, an admin fairy. Please. So you start training. Winston then gets used to training with other people and other dogs. Our trainer then works on particular things. What are you working on this week? How's that going? After a period of time, we'll run an L test, a learner's test, not unlike your licence. So that gives you a licence to drive on the road. So you passed your L's, and it's for you and Winston, both of you as a team. You get an L jacket. That means we can then go and train in public space.
Do I get an L jacket too?
You get a shirt. You get a
Beautiful.
dog squad shirt.
Beautiful.
Yeah, squaddies. So it isn't military, but there are elements in there that when we're training, we wear the shirt because it's like it helps you get into that. This is what we're doing when we go out to the shopping centres.
Wears a jacket.
Yep. And when you put the jacket on the dog, it's like some people say, for my dog, I go working. So he knows when I put the jacket on, and in fact, when we gets up in the back of the car, he puts his head down for me to put his jacket on because he knows he's going to work, and he loves it. Merlin loves going to work. You know, when I take his jacket off, I go free, and then he runs around and does zoomies and.
Then Rob's dog today, the one that's on the L jacket.
Yep.
Soon as that jacket came off, completely different dog. Just was like,
Just a dog.
Just a dog. Just reminded me completely of Winston. Like when I first walked into the house with Winston, like as soon as that jacket came off, he just wanted to play and have fun and just it was amazing.
He's all over you.
Yeah.
And Merly Whirly's the same.
Yeah, and Merlin's huge. Like you can't see him, but he is huge. What I asked before.
So he's a Great Dane cross Neapolitan Mastiff, the Italian Mastiff.
Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry.
All in one, yes, Neapolitan. Yes. So once we've completed the L jacket, we can walk up to the shops here at Strathpine, which is very handy. This is why this space is so good. And we cruise around the shop, it's about familiarisation. Environmental training is desensitising the dog to, that's a good idea, to the environment. It's also desensitising the handler. There's some guys, they haven't been shopping for a long time because just going into the supermarket, too much, right? People, noises, kids yelling and screaming. Right?
I understand that feeling. I mean, I can still go into a shopping centre, but
it's challenging.
Sometimes it can be like emotionally.
Yeah, and when you're not at your best, like asleep, haven't eaten, tired, something's triggered you because you've had a fight with your ex or soon to be your ex or kid or doctor or haven't got your medication or whatever. So your resistance and your buffer's really low. So you go into the shops and somebody says something to you at the checkout or something doesn't, and you lose your shit like that. So having your dog with you helps to stabilise you. And yes, it is challenging taking a dog into that environment. People are going to be looking at you. Yes, they are. But when you go as a team and you've got your jacket on,
they look at you and go, "Oh, okay."
They're training, so they see us training, and people come up, "Oh, what's going on?" One of us, the trainers or the person who's looking after the team, will go, "We're training at the moment. Thanks very much," and the team sees that, and then gradually I see them go, "Oh, we're training," as they feel more confident about it, they start to take responsibility for the place and the space that we are. We train out at Springfield Orion, which is super busy shopping centre. We've been training there on Saturday mornings. Super busy, lots of vets out that way, and to start off with, they were like people and grumble, God bless them, and then 18 months later, they're like, "Come on, we're training this Saturday, what, and always, and that's me, this is my little imprint on things, after we've finished training, and it's still part of training, is that we have a tea or coffee or a water afterwards, and we sit and the dogs relax under the table, because within about 2 or 3 minutes, they settle, and then the handlers settle, and we get that good feeling of like, wow.
We just achieved that.
Exactly, right? So acknowledging the win, right? Dogs go, "Oh yeah, okay, this is the objective. I like this," and off we go, and we do that each week. So socialisation, participation are two of the key ingredients, and that getting out into the environment where there are social aspects, because we are social creatures. So even if you're holed up at home, and I know who you are because we've been watching you, I haven't, I'm joking, we'll be watching shows about people being social, people going out, people meeting people, falling in love, engaging in crime, whatever. We will watch stories about other people being social. So it is in your nature.
And I'm assuming like many other vets, withdrew from the world.
Yes.
Once I got out, I was like, fuck people.
Yeah, all people are bastards.
I don't need people around me. I'm just going to be by myself. For me, and I thought that's what I wanted. That's what I was telling myself and telling everyone. Like, just want to be me. Leave me the fucking... I still say it. I still want my 100 acres and on my land. And
don't we all, mate? Ponies.
But that was also most depressive I'd ever been. No, it wasn't the sole cause, but that was in my most depressed stages. It was when I was like saying I wanted to be alone. It's only since I started socialising and connecting and like having a community and like talking and all that I've started coming out of my own depression. Because that's connection is a huge part of it. There's socialising. I know there's people there that like. I didn't like socialising because I would get anxious. I'm half deaf, so
Pardon?
So there's quite often in an environment that's not inside. Like here, there's no background noise, but it's like out there.
You can't hear.
I can't hear people talk, and I have to repeat, like say over and over again. Sorry, what'd you say? Sorry, what'd you say? And that builds up anxiety because then people are like, is this fucking guy a dickhead? Like, because they don't know what's going on. They just know that I'm fucking standing there just looking at them, hearing every third word.
Sorry.
Sometimes what people say is not even what actually I hear. They'll say completely one sentence, and I'll be like, what does fucking green crocodiles have to do with anything?
Yeah, yeah.
And they'll be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you talking about? And that there makes you want to withdraw and not go out there. But that socialisation is fucking important. And if you're not, and you are being alone, and I know there's a few of you, just even in marriage itself, I know there's a few people who are quite withdrawn. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go and meet people, like, physically. Call, text, send a message, send a meme, send a GIF, I don't know how to pronounce it, but,
oh, shit, sorry.
that's right. Sorry, there's cables everywhere.
Oh, no,
to get
right.
this set up going.
On that note, all of us withdraw. You know, when we're in that space where we can't cope, and we can't cope with the information that's coming in for us in our senses, there's an overload there somewhere. We can't even process what's going on, so we withdraw because I can't, and I don't want to hurt the people that I love.
Yeah, you don't want to burden them either.
You don't want to burden them. You're ashamed. I've been ashamed about my lack of capacity to deal with my shit in my head, you know, and I withdraw, and the more you withdraw, the more attractive being isolated is, and then the more you're in your own headspace, the more attractive exiting this space becomes. It is a slippery slope, and the thing that you don't feel like doing, which is engaging with someone, right? Obviously not some weirdo on Facebook or social media who is going to shit can you.
You're talking about me?
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I'm talking about there's some sledge morons out there that just like trolling and all the rest of it. That burnt me years ago. Made some comment which I thought was really nice and just got harpooned. And it really burnt me. Like for ages and ages I just went, I'm never going to ever make any comment ever again.
A single comment can be debilitating.
Because that's because there's no buffer.
Yeah.
It's like losing your skin, and any touch really hurts. So not a wonder that you withdraw to the dark room and think, maybe this is what I deserve, or it's never going to get any better, and I can't, you know, someone's getting married and I should be happy for them. Oh, that's really nice when you just think, you know, you can't share in other people's joy because you're so destroyed in yourself and you don't want that to come out of your mouth and burn other people, so you withdraw. That's when you hug your dog. You know?
Talk to your dog.
Talk to your dog. Talk to your dog.
I do it all the time. We have conversations. Like, he doesn't speak, obviously, but he does to me.
Yeah, and John, our dog squad manager, the war dog handler, just said, talk to your dog, massage your dog, read your dog a book, you know, read to your dog. And I'm like, okay, cool, you know. And I do talk to Merlin, like, you haven't cleaned your toys up, you know, did you pack the dishwasher?
When the fuck is your turn for the chores?
Yeah, exactly. When you get your own food.
Here's one, like, where's your ball? Where's your ball now?
Yeah, where's your ball now? As soon as you say the word B-A-L-L, it's on. It's like Donkey Kong. Walk. Yeah. So that's when you need to find strategies to do yourselves like 2 circles, and 1 circle go, what are all the things when I feel really bad? Withdrawn, angry, isolated, anxious, blaming, self-blaming, targeting. You might even be hurting yourself. You might even be taking things to hurt you. Do you know what I mean? Eating things that hurt you, taking medication to hurt yourself, right? Because you're angry at yourself for like letting that happen to you. It's like, you're not that powerful. that you caused your body to go into a meltdown. Sorry, but no, you're not. Things have happened to you that you haven't had the skills, resources, knowledge, support to be able to process them. So they back up, and it's a bit like being mentally constipated. Do you know what I mean? It all goes bad. So cut yourself a break, right? Take yourself off the cross of annihilation because somebody needs the wood already. Get off it and do something in the other list. What things make me feel better? You know, and I don't mean eating 3 kilos of chocolate in one sitting.
Or drinking a carton of beer.
Or drinking 2 cartons of beer and then washing it down with tequila, or shagging your next door neighbour's wife, because that just leads to drama. Things that make you feel better.
Service. Look, service is a big one. We
Yes.
will join a service.
Yep.
Serve your community somehow. Serve, volunteer, do something. Serve, I don't know, the homeless people, soup kitchen, do service of some type. Because I already know that all of his listening, he's already have it in you.
Yeah, of course you do.
Ingrained into you to serve. So if you don't know what to do, if you don't know your passions, you don't know your hobbies or whatever, because you're like me, after 15 years or however long you did, you get out and then you're like, oh,
Who am I?
shit, who the fuck am I without the uniform?
Identity. It's reclaiming your identity and remembering. So remember what you did before you went in, things that you like to do.
Like 17, 18.
Was all about drinking and shagging chicks, really.
All very physical shit. And when you get out and now you can't throw a tennis ball, I can't run 5Ks.
But there's other things you can do.
Exactly.
And so some things like, okay, I don't want to do yoga, you know, I don't want to paint a picture.
I do recommend yoga.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, I highly fucking recommend it. My body, I used to say it's broken. I don't like the term broken anymore.
Recovering,
healing.
but it was broken.
It was broken, and now it is healing.
And that's good. And yoga is...
Because to me, if you say you're healing, it implies you're actually doing the work
Yes.
to heal. If you just say you're broken, it doesn't...
And
It's a negative word. Like, you're putting yourself into a negative mindset. If you say to yourself you're broken, tell other people you're broken, everyone knows it, everyone around you then starts treating you like you're broken, and it ruins your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and you don't have the thing to get ahead and start taking on those tasks and all this shit. Just from little words and things like broken.
Well, but I think in the first instance, acknowledging that you're not well and you do feel broken is the starting place. It's like...
Acknowledgement is the first place you have to...
Yeah, it is.
You have to... that is the most important thing. I think.
And the hardest thing, because you might be fit. You might be doing the marathons and raising money for, you know, crippled orphans somewhere in the world that's really important. But in your heart, you're broken. Your heart's broken. So acknowledge the brokenness. It's like anything on your body. If that's, you know, until I acknowledge that arm's snapped and broken, I can't start the healing process. Right? So, and being broken inside isn't your fault. I keep saying that, but I'm just, no, if I'd been better, I wouldn't have. No, stop. That's your brain lying.
And that's you living in the past again.
Living in the past. So yes, broken. All right. What do we move on from there? So find things that float your boat. Find things that make you feel better, right? And that might take you some time. That might mean sitting on the floor with a whole bunch of magazines and cutting out pictures of things you like, and then posting them on, or sticking them if you're not allowed to have glue anymore. Sticky tape. That was a joke. Sticking them onto the board and put it on the wall and go, right, okay, I'm going to go for a walk with these big trees because I do like big trees and it makes me feel better. And then you go and sit somewhere where it's quiet and foresty and you listen to the birds and you be present.
How amazing.
Yeah.
How amazing.
And it works. It's not going to cure you, but what it does is it fills this up where you go, my battery, if you imagine your heart is a battery, right, it's not going to go to 100% anymore because it's been damaged. But if you can get 10%, right, you're like, I'm feeling a bit
more energy.
I've got a bit more energy. I'm feeling myself a bit more. Some people walk in the forest every day. Some people live in the forest. You know, some people, it's the surf or sitting or walking along the beach. Sometimes it's going and seeing turtles hatch, you know. Yes, it's, you know, not hippie, right? It's not hippie. It is nature. Nature helps us. Nature's all around us. And it helps us to recover who we are, ground ourselves and balance and go, mate, the world's not all bad.
Yeah, I recently, this year, I fell in love with walking.
Cool.
Being in the army and pack marching for my whole fucking life, I never wanted to walk it. If it was 600 metres, I'm like, no, move room. I hated walking. And now I love walking in nature, in Townsville. And I was just walking the streets with Winston in Townsville. But there's Ross River, and then it wasn't until a friend last week came up and stayed with me. He's doing 150 k's for mental health this month.
Nice.
So we went for some walks with him.
Yep.
And if you're in Townsville, the walk along the Ross River is so fucking beautiful, and I didn't realise how beautiful it was. And so that's going to go back into my daily routine.
Good.
Walking nature. But talking about nature, I go every morning, I wake up, I go outside barefoot, ground into it. My backyard has flowers and butterflies and dragonflies, and I sit there and I get my early morning sun. It's the only sun you can get in Townsville, otherwise you burn. And that's like really my meditation in the morning.
That's your zen.
Yeah, my zen.
And that's...
And it's as simple as that, going into my backyard, barefoot.
Yep.
Being in the sun.
Grounding. Yep.
Because that, to me, that is, you say the battery of the heart. When I'm in the sun...
Your battery recharges.
My battery recharges.
Cool.
I energise, my brain clears, my anxiety's gone. It might come back during the day, but fuck, I feel good. And I highly recommend that to anyone. Just go barefoot in the ground. Barefoot on the ground and get into nature.
Yes, that's my sister used to say, take your shoes off. I used to walk down the beach. I was lucky enough to live up in the sunny coast and my kids were little, and I had Jas, like Marlon's grandma, and we'd get up 5 o'clock and we'd walk. We'd go to Coolum, and then we'd go, sometimes we'd walk all the way to Pridgeon. And I wouldn't, if it was for the sake of walking, I wouldn't have done it. But because I was with Jess, and because there was no one else there at 5 in the morning, we owned it.
Yep.
And
Same as me and Winston. If I didn't have Winston, I wouldn't be going on walks.
Yeah. We owned it. And I just felt like there was something else that was going on. And sometimes I sat down and cried, and sometimes I felt sorry for myself and why me, and what that must be my fault, trying to find a reason, trying to blame myself, because that's, I think for my family and my parents, and that was an easier thing to go, there's obviously something wrong with you. And I'm like, thank you for your input, and I will now live on the other side of the country. And that's just, I love them, but that's just ignorance, and fear. You must have done something. What did you do? And because they can't cope with that. They saw Karen very competent, very capable, fit, had a full-time career in IT and was in the army. Yeah. For like several years there was no holiday because that consumed everything, Working like long hours, driving ridiculous distances. Like I look at it and go, fuck, who was that person? Do you know what I mean? Like, what were they trying to prove? But I loved it. I would think that in that time, that was my V12 time. I had like all 12 engines running and purring, everything. And I'm like, wow, my body was amazing. My brain was amazing. I got things done. And there will be many of you who resonate with that because you've been really, really good at what you did. You had it all going on. And to come to a place where it's not, the engines aren't running, you're ticking along on about 2 cylinders, you can't fathom to go from that state of being awesome, warrior, to broken, and that doesn't compute because it's like you just don't accept that your body needs some work. You don't know what people go, go for a walk, you feel better. Here's some medication, you'll feel better. And no, I didn't. Take some more medication. Well, no, that's not working either.
21 tablets a day.
Fuck. And then go and get your brain zapped.
2 years ago or something, I was on 21 tablets a day to get through the day. And it was fuck. I was packing my weekly, the blister packs or whatever the fuck they're called. And there were so many pills for a day, I couldn't fit them in the day's fucking thing. So I had to use 2 days. So I had to do, and I was looking at them and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yes.
Like, I don't feel better. Like I'm still fucking sad. I'm still depressed. I'm still all this shit. And I picked up a joint, to be honest with you, and I replaced 21 tablets with fucking a joint.
Nice.
And then, yeah, that was, yeah.
And I'm an advocate for medicinal cannabis, absolutely. And within our own ranks of seeing guys come off a shit ton of, which is a lot for you people that don't swear, of medication, to having some CBD oil and THC that's been measured and prescribed and like almost pain-free, where their body's just gone, oh, thank you so much. They were taking an indescribable amount of medication, stuff I'd never even heard of, that was like highly addictive. Highly addictive. So then they have to go to hospital and go through like ketamine-infused withdrawal.
I know someone who...
Holy moly.
He was a British lateral transfer, came over, was a Royal Commander over there, came over here, became an engineer, sergeant, and then went to like special operations. He'd been on endone for 2.5 years, prescribed by as a prescription by DVA.
Well, by a doctor who was getting paid by DVA.
Yeah, and when you look into shit like that, and you're like...
Highly addictive.
You look at the recommended, it's like 6 weeks use.
That's it, for a reason.
And now he's got to go through a withdrawal process. I got him off this highly fucking addictive drug that was supplied. Yeah.
By a doctor who's getting paid by DVA.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It isn't DVA, because DVA, they're just people who don't...
Paying the bills.
Yeah, just paying the bills, because the public and the government's going, do something about the veterans that are, blah, 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 not well. So they're like, oh, okay, doctors, psychiatrists, hospital, zappy things on the head that's still actually, TMS, which is, it's still experimental, and if in your gut it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it.
Yeah, EMS and TMS, electronic and...
Oh, my God.
Whatever.
So, and now the veterans are submitting to that going, I have to go to hospital for a month and I'm getting 2 lots of TMS a day. And I've just said, is that what you want? Have you looked at the research? Have you... Mate, they at that point, they're malleable because they don't know what else to do. And in that state, you are highly vulnerable. Highly vulnerable. And... when we come back to YD and what we're doing, the Dog Squad program, we're very mindful that by the time people get to us and they've experienced a lot of that stuff where they just go, I can't do this anymore. It's not that we are integrity, moral compass, honesty, truthfulness of like, I'm not going, oh yeah, we get your dog, be no problem, blah, blah, blah. We don't friggin' will lie to them. We manage the expectations, but we do it together. And say, look, we're going to go through the process. This might not be the right dog, but you're part of it. So manage the expectations. So they come on board with that. And
because that's a huge fucking thing with anyone, not just veterans. Be upfront be truthful and upfront. And if shit goes wrong, it's fine. You know what I mean? We understand shit goes wrong.
Absolutely, it goes sideways, yeah.
You said, no, 100%, we're providing you with a dog, it's going to be amazing and your life's going to be amazing, and then it comes time to it and that doesn't happen, that's going to destroy someone.
100%.
And they're going to be angry and like all this shit. But if you just said from the beginning, this is the plan and this is...
And here's the process.
And here's the process, and it might not work out, and you need to prepare. They then prepare for that. So if it doesn't work out, yes, this is going to be hurt or broken, but they've prepared, and they're not going to be anywhere near as bad as holding on for 18 months and then just getting it. Yeah.
And that's where we advocate in the program, is that we co-manage that. It is the veteran's walk, the veteran's choice. That do you want the puppy, or do you want to wait 18 months? Because we don't do the 18 months thing. We just don't have the resources, and we don't have the people who want to do that. There are other organisations that do it. It's you and your dog, or we help you find a dog, or we give you a dog. And on that note of we give you the dog, because I can hear you asking before you hit the comment button, is that the incentivisation and the requirement is that you come to training on a regular basis, which is every week. So about 40 weeks of the year, which works out to be school terms as well, because we break for the end of term because people have got kids and stuff. Gives you a break from training. and that you do your L jackets. We train in public space as a team, so you're not on your own. We've got your back. And I absolutely will step up anytime. And so will other people to support veterans in the public space with their dogs until you are ready to do your public access test, PAT, it's called. Yes, then there is dissension in other states. Queensland has the only legislation for guide, hearing and assistance dogs, the Act of 2009, GAD. Some people call it GHAD. It's not recommended, but GAD, G-H-A-D. We run the PAT test, public access test, under that guideline of the, and it's the basis of it. Dog is under effective control of the handler. The dog is hygienic, meaning it doesn't wee and poo inside, and the dog is not aggressive. It's not reactive. It's not aggressive, right? And it's fair enough. Like if you feel a need to take out a big slobbering Rottweiler who's going to bite people, then you're not ready. You know, you're still in defence mode and you need claymores probably and a Rottweiler, but not in public space. So, and once the veteran passes the PAT with the dog, the one that we've given them, we give them the dog. The dog becomes theirs. We sign it over. Up until that point, we still own the dog, because that means if something happens to them or the dog, or they drop out of the program or they stop coming to training, we recover the dog. And that's for the dog's welfare, right? If we didn't do that, people would be all over us screaming, what about the animals? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that they, and no, we don't take the dog off them when the dog retires. The dog stays with them. It's their dog. You know, what happens to them if
someone try and come take my dog?
Honestly, people's questions. So do you take the dog? No, we don't take the dog. The dog stays with them and their family, or with them. Brett, one of the guys, he's onto his second dog. Of course, Matilda, his first dog, stays with him. Matilda's been teaching the new dog, Alfie, things, secret dog's business. No, we would never take the dog. I've only ever recovered 2 dogs, and that was because one person had resumed a lifestyle that wasn't conducive to having a dog, and were self-medicating with things that were evil, and the dog had been living on McDonald's, so we had to recover the dog. And I copped a lot of flack over it, but if I hadn't recovered the dog and people had found out that the dog was unwell, I would have copped flack about that too. You know, damned if you do, damned if you don't. However, and that dog then went on to retire because he'd already done his job. You know, so he's retired, living happily ever after. The other guy, the dog was only there for a little while, and he had other conditions that he hadn't disclosed, mental health. So it's more challenging for people who have schizophrenia and bipolar. There are some people that have a tendency to go, I'm all right, I don't need the medication, and then they're in trouble. So they forget about the dog or taking care of themselves. So that's not a good environment to have an assistance dog in. We're not saying no, but that's a different set of circumstances. So we have recovered dogs, and that allows us, because we still own the dog, to look after the dog. But it's never a threat. They never say, if you don't do this, then we'll take, no. Unlike when you're in the military, it doesn't work like that. That the drive and the motivation needs to be with the individual that has the dog, right? And
it can't be external motivation under threat. And for military, we're going to touch on this quickly, but sorry to cut you off. For military, external motivation is the fear of punishment.
Yes. Yes, it
is.
is.
It motivates you pretty much to do fucking everything, whether it's from your mates, hierarchy, anything. That's your motivation to do it all.
And there are partners, wives, husbands, of people who use that to coerce and control their partner. If you don't do this, I won't be home when you get back from deployment. If you don't do this, you won't see your kids. That, ladies and gentlemen, is coercive control. It's not okay, right? You don't deserve it. You need to reach out to somebody and say to them, this is what's been going on, right? It's not okay. And I see it and hear of it a lot. Please, if you want to text me about it, I don't mind. It's not who you are. You don't deserve it, and it's not all right. I heard one partner threaten the veteran that if they didn't do what they were told, they were going to take their dog off them. And I had a very difficult conflict of not wanting to go into military mode. And
It'd be hard.
it was very difficult.
Especially because, even as a question I asked today, it's indoctrinated
Yes.
to fight.
Yes.
So it would have been very difficult.
Well, and also the protective thing, because as a leader you serve. You know, I do lead this organisation, but I serve the organisation. You know, not for money. I don't get paid. Not for medals, because there are none. You know, not because there's going to be any accolade for me. If I was doing it for that reason,
About 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, because nobody knows what I do. And plus I have to pick up a lot of poo, so it's not glamorous, you know. But that manipulating someone who is vulnerable, no, it's not okay. And I've been surprised that I've talked to guys who have not wanted to say what was going on in their home environment, that their wife, partner was manipulating them, bullying them, threatening them, saying, you know, if they weren't so worthless, if they weren't so useless, you know, they would have got a job, they would have done this, they would have done that, they would have been better. And that is not okay, ever, 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 ever. It is not all right. That is coercive control. It is manipulation. If you had a sister and her husband was talking to her that way, you would take him out. No question asked. Take them round the back, sort them out, right? Aussie style. Wouldn't declare a fatwa on them. You'd just like take them out the back. Men who are being treated by their wives like that, we don't speak about it, but it is happening. What a wordy bird. You knew I was getting upset, didn't you, mate? Because I feel very strongly about that, because that is a vulnerable person who's dealing with the best that they can with a mental illness, staying with their family, trying to hold it together, and getting it in the neck from a partner. One guy said she'd told him that he needed to hand over his pay packet because he couldn't be trusted, and then she'd give him some money if he'd been good. Fuck. Oh, I just went, are you okay with that? Oh, not really, but you know, how will I?
He's afraid of being alone, and he's got all the other things. And if he fights, if he says no or whatever, then she'll leave, and then he's stuck there by himself.
And she knows that.
And he probably knows that if I'm here by myself, I probably won't be around.
Well, interestingly enough, he has a dog, and that as his dog's giving him confidence about things, he said, right, if that's what you're going to do, see you later, because this is dysfunctional. It's affecting me, you and the children. I'm not mentioning any names, just so you're aware of people up there jumping up and down about privacy. I can see their fingers itching.
No,
Wanted to get the keyboards.
No names.
No names. However, she's moved out. He's got a new lease on life. Yes, he's a bit lonely, but he's got his woofie. And he sent me a FaceTime because he'd bought a whole bunch of building materials and was getting into doing things in the house, because he just said he'd lost motivation to do it because everything he did was wrong. And I went, that's really good, mate. And he is progressing with he's got his life back. You know, he has.
So amazing.
It's so amazing. He has his life back. Yeah, okay, he's a bit lonely, but being alone sometimes is really good for you.
Once you master or get used to, or like being alone, it's not that bad. You still have your lonely moments. But now I can sit there in my own head and thoughts some of the time, not all the time. It's a skill that I'm learning.
Yes, it is.
And sometimes it's really beautiful. I get a lot of good thinking done, problem solving, come up with ideas
Yes.
for a podcast or for...
And look at this wonderful work that you're doing.
Yeah, just from sitting there literally alone, being in the moment.
And it's not as bad as you think. And, you know, the fear of being alone, once you face your fear, right, I'm alone, I'm not. When you got your woofie, when you got your dog, you are never alone, right? That is the leash, the life rope back from the edge of the cliff, and then you've got to start to go, kind of need to improve things a bit because I've got to look after my dog, need to take him for a walk, he needs a bath, need to train him. I'd like to have him with me all the time. So then I join Young Diggers, and then I've got to go to training every week. And then, oh, geez, Kaz said I've got to wear my shirt, so I better bloody wash it. But like, oh, my God, I need clothes and shoes, so I'm going to find some shoes.
Go get dog food.
Got to get dog food. And we went to the...
fucking shit all over the yard. I've got to pick that up.
Pick the shit up. So when you start to invest in the things around you, your dog, you start to care for yourself as well, just by default, right? And as you do that more and more, you get a little bit better, and you get a little bit better. Small tasks with good outcome, repeated, right? That is the key for neuroplasticity. I'm rapping that shit, man. And it works. It works.
There's thousands of papers out there you can read about it.
And there's guys that I talk about the facts all the time. I talk about the guys because I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them because they're doing the work. You know what I mean?
There's a quote I heard recently. A friend sent it to me. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're not doing.
I might write that down.
To me, what that means is for years, I was depressed and drinking and suicidal and like all that shit. And it wasn't until I started trying to heal. I had to acknowledge my pain, the brokenness, and once you acknowledge, then you have to start doing work. And look, fuck knows, I didn't know what the work was to begin with. You know what I mean? People were saying meditating, and then you sit there and then you start thinking about 100 million things, and there's mindfulness, and I found mine in nature.
Nice.
And in dance.
Nice. 5 rhythms?
I found so I started going to festivals, like the earthy festivals, not like falls or anything, like these smaller, like where the hippies go, not the fucking...
Yeah.
And...
not the petrol-head dwarfs.
And it was like that psytrance music was not my music and all that type of shit. And then, but I found freedom on the dance floor, because in that place there was no judgment and there was none of that, and it was the fucking life changing. And to dance, so I get there now. I've got a little photo up on my Facebook of me, got taken from me. Some photographer took it, me eyes closed on the dance floor dancing, and it was the most freest moment I've ever.
Yeah, and that was my thing back in the day when I was doing, 2 jobs, IT, and driving 2 hours because I lived up near Newcastle, so I drive down to North Sydney to do my IT job, and then I drive back again, and then Tuesday nights I have to drive back and then go on parade, and then every weekend, and the release for me was dancing. I loved it, and no alcohol, because I just didn't like pissed idiots. I enjoyed gay clubbing because it was all about the music, and there were cute boys to look at that weren't tempting because they were gay, and they weren't like putting paws on me, and I was happy about that. So I could just dance, go, oh, you look beautiful, and I'd dance for hours, but I was fit and happy. And then for a long time I didn't dance. And there's something called 5 Rhythms, which is a lady called Gabrielle Ross. She was a dancer, and she developed an understanding about the different dance expressions that we use that express our emotions, which is very interesting if you want to look into that, Gabrielle Roth. And so then developed the 5 Rhythms. So there are people who hold 5 rhythm dancing where it's a space just to dance. So it's like $20. You go and you just dance for 2 hours, and there's no judgment. There's no right or wrong.
And there is that feeling of no judgment.
And they talk about it being a prayerful meditation, in that you're transmuting troubles of the world through the spirit of dance.
I feel like because I'm barefoot when I'm dancing.
Yep.
I'm stomping away my fears, my anxiety, my depression into the ground, and the earth is like receiving it, or like like I do with grounding. When I first go out in the morning and put my feet onto the ground, barefoot feet, I actually feel like a wave of like relief almost, like.
So, and Of course, there's something in it for the naysayers and the atheists and, Christians against dinosaurs or against Christians.
Know, a year ago, I didn't wear jewellery, hippie jewellery. I didn't do this hippie stuff, but it's fucking helped. This woo-woo shit that people talk about. And I got into it via science, via physics, learning about physics and quantum physics as a curious mind, and I like to learn how and why things work. And then it just turned out that quantum physics and the spiritual world are very much aligned in their beliefs.
Indeed, they are.
And
what you think you create, yes.
Started looking at energy, and there was all this other stuff, and and then so many and still with a very skeptical mind. You can't just tell me the fucking sky's green and I'm going to believe it. I am very evidence-based, very scientific brain, hence me looking into the science. So many fucking coincidences kept happening, where I'm like, here's an example. Like, I would have laughed at astrology my whole life, and then this very beautiful, amazing woman, Danielle, she read my chart. I gave her my birth date and all that stuff. She's like, oh, you've got a Mars in Aries. Okay. She's like, most people have Mars in Aries and normally in the military or police. And I was like, okay, just, very skeptical. She then meets other army friends of mine who are veterans, and I was like, oh, I'm curious. I wonder what their shit is. They were all Mars in Aries. I'm like, okay, show me people who aren't veterans. Show me their charts. None of them are Mars in Aries. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, so here I am with a skeptical brain, like astrology, as if that's fucking real. I'm still skeptical. But then shit like that. Like my 4 best mates had all Mars in Aries. We're born in different years, months, fucking everything, different. And I was like, what the fuck? Just little coincidences like that, and it starts making you believe. And you're like, oh.
I think that there could be something more that we can't explain.
Yeah, and then a lot of the spiritual world is it's pretty much all inner work. Like it's really about healing the inner, and learning that by talking to elders and people from different walks of lives at these like festivals and stuff. It's quite like probably losing fucking viewers by talking about it. But it really is amazing. I highly recommend people to get into or try and look at meditation. I'd love to talk to you. I still need to chat about meditation and that side of things. Even though you may think it's all like yoga, people as soon as you tell a male veteran yoga, it's like I'm not gay. Like that's the stigma behind it. Or not saying that gay.
Yeah, totally. But that's the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that still pervades. So that's fear. Fear that they'll be labelled if they do that. So let's look at cultures around the world, right? Hundreds of cultures, thousands of cultures, over thousands of years. In Vedic, Indian culture, 6,000 years old, physically moving your body.
Ancient China, Qigong.
Yeah, Qigong, Falun Gong, movement of the body, moving the energy around the body, acupuncture based on movement of energy around the body, reversing the energy, understanding by using pulse diagnosis, 12-point pulse diagnosis about where the energy is blocked, where it's not moving. Kinesiology is based on that. It's a fantastic non-invasive kind of work, and that really helped me. Reiki, there's lots of moving the energy of the body, becoming aware. We did dog massage on Saturday for our Veterans Health Week market, and DBA acknowledged that was actually mental wellness of like connecting with your dog, giving your dog massage, and it isn't just saying, rub, it's putting hands on it and feeling as you move your hands along the dog where the fur doesn't move. There might be a lump, the muscle's hard, the dog turns around to bite you because that place is sore. So a lot of bad behaviour in dogs is because they are in pain and they can't tell us, So an awareness of like, is my dog okay? How are they travelling?
Sorry, as you were saying that, it just had people are the same.
Yes.
We can take, but we don't. But if we get touched in the wrong way, we'll bite. Like it was just as you were saying that. I just
absolutely.
Realised,
Yeah, and that goes emotionally as well. If I ask a particular type of question, if I'm not aware and I haven't kind of tuned in about what's going on, I can blunder in to your personal space and ask a question that like triggers you. It
doesn't even have to be much. I got triggered by a panic attack once because I was at a mental hospital that no one at my unit knew except for my hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And a mate messaged me saying, "Hey mate, where are you?" I was done. That sentence, "Hey mate,
Where are you?"
Where he was actually looking out for me because it was the first day back at work
And you wasn't there.
And I was, fuck, that was hectic. That's how powerful words are.
And it is an understood and recognised model, is to connect them with times when they felt good and they felt safe. You know, even the people that had trauma in their childhood, right? There's still times like, when did you feel safe? What's a happy memory for you? What a happy memory for the Merlin? Oh, can you see it?
Merlin? Oh, they can see you now. Yeah, that's better.
That's the Merlin. We say hello. Say hello. Say hello. Oh, you're a good boy. Oh, you're so clever. You'd have a biscuit for that. Sit. Tell me how much you love Joel. You love him?
Yeah, amazing.
That's the Merlin.
You're a good boy, Merlin.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. So, connecting that feeling, and weirdly enough, coincidence, it was cuddling a puppy. You know? Cuddling a puppy, or, oh, I remember you had a puppy or a kitten. So, tapping into that good memory and helping them. So, little things like, Scotch finger biscuits or arnott's, or my mum used to give me arnott's, or banana cake. So when I first started, because I'm thinking, how do I connect with these really damaged people? Like, I didn't deploy. I can't say I completely understand how they feel. I have empathy. So how do I connect with them? And staying for a cup of tea or coffee, having biscuits that bring back memories, banana cake. I'd always have banana cake cooking when we first got here, because I thought the smell of banana cake. And then and some guys that were like, "Oh no, I'm out of here," you know. And then I'm like, "Oh, I've got a chance. Let's get banana cake." "Oh, you're also for banana cake." And then you probably have a drink to go with that. Thanks, Melon, for belching on me. That's really wholesome, mate. Then they stay and they might have one piece of banana cake, then they might have another one. My wife doesn't cook banana cake. Oh, don't tell her I did. You know what I mean? And so it starts. And I looked at, I grew up in the country, so I had grandmas that were in the CWA, the Country Women's Association, aunties that made lamingtons for the church drive, you know, aunties, great aunts that arrived when there'd been trauma that had happened in the family. You know, someone had died, something had happened. The aunties would arrive with like wicker baskets with a thermos in it and fruit cake and biscuits they'd made, and they'd sit around and they'd be drinking of tea and eating of cake, and you kids take that, now you go outside, you know what I mean, and the adults would be in there like, we'd be talking and laughing and plotting and planning and all the rest of it. But there was no money. Nobody had any money. There was no a psychiatrist. There was no mental health plan. There was no nothing, right? There was only that. Yeah, there was the tribe, the aunties and the uncles and all the rest of it that would arrive, you know, with whatever they had, which is actually no different to the Indigenous model. The family just arrives.
I think it should be how we all. I've had this conversation with other people. I think one of the ways we're going wrong with Western society is we're not family orientated anymore. And look,
fraction
is gone from the grandparents used to raise the kids. Well, the parents hunted, gathered, worked, whatever it was. But everyone raised each other. It's like this person would raise this person's kid if need be, and this one would all help out, and it'd be this community. Now we're 28 million deep into Australia, and no one talks to each other.
Unless they're Chinese or Greek or Italian and their parents live next door, or they're from the Cook Islands, and the 17 of them living in the house, because that's how they roll.
It's actually a very smart way to do it.
And we've lost that. You know, one of my 6 generations on one side, 3-4 generations on the other. And when I went to work in Scotland, there was nothing there like I didn't exist. There was no connection to country from the government's point of view, but in my heart, I was very connected. You know, I knew that's where my ancestors had come from. But the traditions the songs, the language were gone. You know, and
I think that is a big thing with Western civilization. We don't really have that culture anymore.
no,
Compared to the other countries of the world, they still have a very much culture. We're like other, yeah.
my grandma said it's because we came from pioneering stock, so they had to say goodbye to the old country.
That's actually very, yeah.
And it was really hard for them. My great granny was Scottish, and she said for years after leaving Scotland, her pillow was wet with tears, so she'd cry at night by herself, so no one else would know. And it was such a poignant memory. And then when I went to Scotland and it was green, oh my God, it was so green. There was so much water. I used to have 45-minute showers because they had so much water. It was ridiculous. Oh my God, because when I was a kid, we'd get like 2 minutes and then Dad would be banging on the wall going, get out of the bloody shower, you know.
I still have like 2-3 minute showers. I don't know if that's the reason why, but like I don't know, the army, I have friends who have 45-minute showers still. And me, like I get in, wash, get out. I don't know if that's an army thing, the indoctrination. I don't know if that's parents of like indoctrination through my life. I don't know.
I felt guilty having a long shower, even though I'm on the other side of the world. I was expecting my dad to bang on the wall going, get out of the bloody shower, you know, what do you think this is, you know, living on a dam or something? They had so much water there. Water was never an issue. And when you get cold, the only way you could like defrost yourself was to have a long hot shower. And I loved it because I just thought about, and everything was green and it was cool or cold, which I quite liked. And I thought how very different it would have been arriving in Fremantle, where everything was dusty and there were bugs and flies and they're wearing all these heavy clothes, and the prospect of ever getting back to Scotland. You know, they'd left thinking they might never get back there. They would have had to have disconnected themselves, right, to be colonists. So that they came.
Especially when you had no social media and like phones and all that shit. 6
months or whatever in the ship, you know. So they had to go, that's it, I'm leaving there for a new life. Unlike people who, you know, go back and forth and all that kind of thing now, but people who've immigrated, you know, they leave the old country and they come to the new country.
And that's a decision they make, like
yes.
In their head, they're like leaving this, starting there. Yeah.
And I really feel, and this comes back to the veteраnism, is I feel for people whose countries have been like invaded, overturned by fundamentalist, fascist, militant groups, where them winning is more important than the citizens' lives, their way of life. So I have a friend that's she signs for the deaf, Auslag, and within yeah, cool. So within a few weeks of Putin invading the Ukraine, because it was a topic and they signed for all sorts of people, my friend said Vladimir Putin is quite a long bit to sign, so this was the sign for Vladimir Putin. I'm like, oh, God bless the deaf community, because that just wrapped it up. I'm like, yes, that is exactly, yes. So it's a universal symbol. When I was some other people, Vladimir Putin, they were like, ooh. Because, yeah.
That's another job to get into. Learning sign language. Do you ever pay for that course?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
My dad worked for NDIS for like 20 years, and he said they pay him like $270 an hour for a sign, and they always need them. They're always screaming out for them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool, because you could do that with a dog. We had a guy here that's it's a Salvation Army program. It's I think it's called Drive for Life. So for kids who are marginalised, who've come from broken homes, who with this area where we live here, there's a lot of islanders here, Pacific Islanders, like Cook Islanders, Samoans, Tongans, the Māori, and they've sent their kids here, or the wife, or to try and get an education to help them stabilise, so they're sleeping on the cousin's couch and things like that. So they they don't have a significant elder to help them with their driving, and you could do 100 hours. Someone comes with you, no big deal if you're living mum and dad, 2 kids or whatever. So Drive for Life is a Salvation Army initiative. So people can sign up for that. Got a licence, and you do 2 hours a week. The salvos pay for the car and the petrol or diesel, and you mentor a student. So just for 2 hours a week, you just drive with them for an hour, and you can have your assistance dog with you. They're absolutely cool about that and would love that. And I went, that's a brilliant initiative. That's really good. You're helping people who, you know, those kids need a break. They need, because I know my kids, everything was about getting their licence. Oh my God.
My daughter's talking about it. She's been talking about it for a year, and she's 14. So.
And it's this coming of age thing now, like getting your licence is the... So I thought that was a good initiative if anyone was interested in that. So that's the salvos. And you can take your assistance dog with you. So good luck with that, because like my kids driving, learning scared the shit out of me.
That's not for me. My anxiety would be through the fucking roof. The assistance dog would need to be sitting on my lap, hugging me.
It's like, Alan, you're in charge.
Yeah, I'm not... I am actually looking forward to my daughter starting.
I found it challenging, and I pushed. I think there's a dent in where the brake pedal is on the left-hand side on the passenger wheel.
My mum's still traumatised. She rarely lets me drive from like when I was learning, when I was like 14 or 15, whatever the age it was. Here in Brisbane in a column shift fucking ute, and fuck.
Oh my God.
I think I hit a roundabout.
Hit a roundabout?
Yeah, went too fast. When there's a column shift, it wasn't going in. I started focusing on the column shift, like my second time ever driving.
Oh my God. That's like that.
I'm better now.
That's like that little meme of the car that hits a roundabout and just launches. Yeah. So good.
Yeah,
I know.
I taught my daughter's mum to drive though, and she's still alive, so must be right.
I taught my ex-husband to swim. Actually, we'd met doing a training, and went from not being. I remember being I was boarding at a friend's house while I was doing office training and working, and taught him to swim in their backyard pool because he couldn't swim. And then on the honeymoon we went diving in Lombok, in Bali, and then when we split up, as you do, he then went off with another mate and went and did his master's dive certificate and went diving like in Mauritius and the Maldives, and I'm like, busted.
Couldn't do that 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Where was this guy?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, there's nothing to the ex going, thanks very much.
Yeah.
I couldn't even swim.
Yeah.
God bless him and all that sailed upon him. So yes, irony.
I did have one question about dogs. You said you've got to come in for training. What happens if you're not in Brisbane? Or can you only accept people in Brisbane at the moment? Like, well, I live in Townsville, Winston's in Townsville. So if I did get accepted into the program, how would me coming in for weekly training work?
Well, unless you've got a matter transport machine or you want to fly down, which you couldn't because Winston's not jacketed, then what we would do is look at finding a trainer for you in your area. Not as easy as it sounds, but we wouldn't turn you away.
Okay.
So we've never turned anyone away that's wanted to come on board with us and ascribes to our method, where you train the dog, we train you to train the dog. And even when you're jacketed, you still train, right? Because you need to keep those skills up. It's a bit like
anything, for shooting, for
riding a motorbike, whatever. So we look at finding a trainer up there that suits what we do. You know, and sometimes there's some places where there's a local dog club, obedience club, like for Tamworth, for example, the Oxy Dog Training Club. God bless them, they're a great bunch of people, and young diggers. Veterans with their dogs have been training there for like 7 years. You know, one guy's left, another guy's kind of stepped up. His dog now is going and doing rally and obedience and has achieved some amazing things with his dog.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's got a L count.
A what?
An L count. It's
L count.
elk,
Yeah,
E-L-K,
yeah.
elk hound.
But
So
I don't
it's
know what it is.
it's like it's a Norwegian little fluffy grey thing that they take them out, they hunt for elk. It's all fluffy and a Callista, an amazing dog. And this guy's gone from being not well and just doing obedience to now training other people, competing with this dog. He posted a picture of him looking out the back of must have been an aircraft of some description when they're in DPCUs and they're looking out of Afghanistan. And I just thought that's the first time he shared anything about his military background. And I saw that as a really healthy sign, because that's bringing in like that part of your life and acknowledging it and being okay with it and integrating that into life that you are now, you know. So as for you being remotely located, so we would either look at finding a dog club, and I'd probably come up and suss it out and go meet people, because that's what I do. I'm the boots on the ground. That's how I work. Meet people in the dog club, see what the vibe is like. If they're cool and they're okay with a vet, and they might have vets that are training there anyway, and it's healthy, then and come along with you. So you start there and go, yeah, I'm all right. I can do this. So there's your obedience. So you're training every week. We'd ask them for a discount. With I think Oxley Dog Club for a period of time, we paid their annual fees, and then the guys got to the point where they went, oh no, we can pay our annual fees. It's like $40. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. I'd
go and visit. I volunteered down there a few times for rally and stuff, so we got that connection. Right, great group of people, and we look at doing the same in Townsville. There are different dog training groups that are there. I don't know them. I'm not going to point or deride or whatever. They do what they do, but staying connected with us, because we will advocate for you, and you will come down here from time to time. So then you come along to training here, the rest of the crew gets to know you, the trainer that's here know you. You might be down at Burleigh having a surf. They train there on a Tuesday morning now. You know, you go on YD, no drama. Ipswich, I need to come and do some training in public space. Okay, they're training there on Thursday this week. You know, that's where we're just getting to now. And all the way up the coast, I want to be doing the same thing for us, because we've got dudes that are all the way up at like Harvey Bay, Buxom, Burham Heads. So it's just, you know what I mean? Like, so
it's expanding.
It is expanding, and that's just natural that we're not advertising. We're not like, come on board with us. You know, you get like a free bucket of chicken and a set of steak knives.
There is some veteran groups out there offering. I'm like, I don't know how they're getting the funding to offer every single person who signs up shirts, gym bags, drink bottles, like packages. Like
that's because they've got funding. That's because the big push has been, and like it was on Dr. Andrew Koo's slide where it had physical fitness. Yeah. So they've gone, physical fitness. So there's another group that's opened in Caboolture like a few days ago. They've got a flash, building, towels, shoes, everything. Get the veterans to come. Come on, veterans, come on. Come on. Here, boy, come on. That'll make you better. Oh, sorry, that's really sarcastic. It's really good.
Yeah, like it was just really surprising that like organisations like this are really struggling. They're doing amazing work. Yet there's organisations out there giving every veteran $150 worth of gear just to sign on. And then you think if 5,000 veterans do that, where are they? Like that money
funding
going to other things than a drink bottle that they're never going to use, or
to make them feel better, and then they can tick. They can.
And it gets them in the door, I suppose.
But they tick.
Free shit.
Well, and they might have got a grant or something, so they would go, how have you engaged with veterans? So we give them a free towel and drink bottle, tick. You know, how many veterans have been engaged? 150, tick. So they meet the grant requirements.
Yep.
People said, why don't you get grants? And it's like, because the grants are quite specific. You know, the grants like, do you run an assistance dog organisation? Haven't seen a grant like that yet. Yeah. And you need someone to write the grants. And
that costs money, because I'm looking into it at the moment as well.
You've really got to be really good at doing that and meeting the matrix that the government specifies, and then doing the reporting. And really, we've just been making dog treats and making snuffle mats and doing sausage sizzles because it's also incorporating what we do, that social, in a community, people being able to come and participate, constantly talking about what we do. But back to you, up in Townsville, so we'd find someone for you, and it might be a one-on-one trainer. You know, we'd tell them that we're a charity, that we deal with veterans, and the 2 dog trainers that have come on board recently just said, "Oh, can I volunteer?" And I went, "Yes, please."
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Another one wanted to go away and go, "Well, how long is this going to be for and how many hours?" And look at like my rates. And I just went, "We're a charity, mate, like a charity for veterans. If it doesn't resonate with you, then I can't pay you $150 an hour currently."
Yeah.
You know, it's...
One day.
Well, maybe, but then they might not be the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'd be the people that have been volunteering for the last 2 years
100%.
that we'd say, "Oh, we'd love to give you some money now."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we do donation in kind. So our current trainer's bill last year for us about $6,000 for the year. So she made that a donation. We were able to give her a tax invoice for that, which assisted her enormously, and we're forever grateful. And then in the ranks, the guy that's in Nowra, the guy that's up at Buxton, can I do what you guys, can I learn how to be a trainer? Absolutely. So they've gone back to their rehab consultant and said, "I want to do this course." Rehab consultants rung me and I've gone, absolutely, support them 100%. Because they said, well, I'm here and you're down there, so I could be doing this, what you do here. And I'm like, you could. That's come from them. So then they're motivated to start setting up and then look at other veterans that they could help and assist, dogs that they could train. They start to build relationship, because that really is military methodology. So military methodology 101 is teach you how to do this, and you become competent, and then we teach another person how to do it, and then there's 3 of you doing it, and then we've got to go, but now you can feed yourself, build a house, look after your perimeter, and then you go, well, that'd be good if we could go further north because they've got trouble up there, and then we could teach some of them how to do it, you know, teach them how to fish, how to clothe themselves, how to manage their perimeter. And it's not colonisation. It is about, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Feed yourself, water yourself, have shelter and protection. You know, how do I recover? Oh, I've got a dog. How do I look after my dog? Somebody's taught me. How do I train my dog? Someone's taught me. So then what do? I start teaching other people because I can't help myself. All right?
And that community builds.
And the community builds. And that's our thing. Together we heal. I'm not sure on that, but it is with Together We Heal, because it's not just me. You saw a community of us, so we're integrated into the Toowong hospital system because dudes go in and out of there. Green Slopes, the Department of Veteran Affairs, you know, instead of being, oh, they're my enemy and all the rest of it, it's just they're people that are just doing a job that probably need more information. Yeah? Abusing them is like they're public servants. They get abused all the time.
I've never...
Abused a public servant?
Never, no, I've never done that. My thing with DVA, my process with DVA was like, why would I get angry, like abuse them when they're the ones looking out for me? So I just treated them with kindness and respect, and it seemed to work. Like all my emails, "G'day sir, man," or whoever I was talking to, "Hope you had an amazing week." Like every single email, except for the last ones, because it took like 9 months from they had everything needed for my PI, to get my PI determination was a 9-month thing from when they received my last report, which was like 4 years, it was almost 4 years in the making, but looked 9 months for the last. So my emails, even though they weren't abusive, I wasn't saying, "I hope you had a great week." I'd be like, "Hi, how's my thing coming along?"
You're getting short.
Yeah. And then that seemed to work. Once a week I'd send an email, and my emails got shorter and shorter and shorter, and then the next thing I know I was getting it done. So.
And they
treat them nice. Like they're just people, and you don't know what they're going through. Like you don't know, fucking, if they've been up all night that night because their baby's been sick for the past fucking 3 weeks. And, you know, like you don't know. So there's no point in treating people bad because you don't know that person. You don't know what they've gone through. You don't know that they lost their whole family growing up, and now they're struggling with day-to-day life, and you're there giving them shit because of a shirt they're wearing, and that might be the last straw that sends them over the fucking edge.
You don't know if they've been abused by 6 people before they speak to you.
Exactly.
Like because
No.
because DVE hasn't honoured a claim, haven't paid them, want them to go and have another back scan done.
Yeah.
That's not their decision. They're just talking to you on the phone, and people are ripping the shit out of them, and they're folding.
Yeah.
There's people in there that are suicidal, that have gone off and will never work again because they can't help the person on the other end of the phone because they've only got the tools that they've got, and they are restricted.
And protocols, and they've got to follow the balance and ball. Like if we do a course, and you have to go progression to do a course. Like in the army, you do a military, you do a course, and there's a progression through it. They have the same progression.
They're restricted by the bureaucracy. You can't do
And
that.
I really think with DVA, when they become that online service, when you can do your own shit, you know, like your own claims, I don't think they were ready for the manpower to back that up. And now there's this huge weight. Now with these veterans are disgruntled, and it's like, it's been 3 years, and I just want my shoulder. I just want to fucking go to a doctor and get my shoulder sorted.
5,000 claims or something. It's so not ideal, which generated the feeling in the community that the hurry up and wait thing, they'd hurry up and wait for people to kill themselves so they didn't have to pay the claim. And when that's general,
That's honestly a feeling.
it's general knowledge. Yeah, not okay.
I've had people say that to me. It's like, I'm pretty sure they're fucking me over just so I'll kill myself, so it's easier for them.
And when you're disgruntled and you're disappointed and you're unwell and you've been in a lot of pain constantly, that erodes your ability to interact with your environment. You become reactive. Yeah, you become disgruntled. If you've got anger, you become angry, you know, and then you're not thinking and reasoning properly. It's really hard to pull yourself back from that, you know, and no blame on the veteran. Honestly, it's been a tough gig.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, if you're not travelling well, right, and you don't have a dog, get a dog.
I recommend it.
Yeah, but get a dog that's appropriate for your circumstances, right? Think about what kind of dog you want.
Don't get Merlin if you're 60 kilos and can't handle.
Well, you saw Jo there today, so Jo's in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was a military working dog handler, first woman to work on the flight line in the RAF, first woman. Imagine how much shit she would have got from the RAFies, because at least the army will just keep you straight up, and you can banter back, and you can just, if you can give as good as you get, then you're okay. But RAF's different.
Okay.
They just no matter what you say or do, they're still looking down their nose, and the assaults and abuse were worse in the army, in the Navy and the Air Force. I was surprised. I thought it'd be army, but it was actually the Air Force and the Navy where the chicks just getting abused so badly that it just destroyed them. You know, for no reason other than the fact that they're a girl and that was threatening, and we don't have the population like China where it's like boys only. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're a tiny country trying to cover a vast area and deploy people overseas for peacekeeping, for tri-service, for a whole bunch of things. It's like, you know, if you've got issues about that now, probably need to go and talk to someone about it, you know, because you're not being part of the solution, you're being part of the problem. And I can show you after this, 3 or 4 days ago, I sent an old veteran I knew a message where I even apologised for how I treated him back in the day. Wow.
I didn't even treat him overly bad, but I was carrying something there where I felt like I needed to say that to him.
Good for you, mate.
And it was extremely hard. And then the conversation that pursued after that, and it turns out he's going through shit, and yeah, it was really powerful. Yeah.
Well done. That takes courage to do that. But then you're clearing out your own clutter, emotional clutter, when you let that go. I got bullied really badly at school, one guy, and I'd been infatuated with his best mate because I just thought we were going to get married and be farmers and, you know, raise horses and sheep and live the life, right? And this bloke, a kid, he wasn't having a bar of it, so he just set about making sure that I was isolated, nobody talked to me, that, I was the worst person in the world. Might have had something to do with the fact that my mum was a teacher and she had confronting him about his psychotic personality, and spoke to his parents and just said, you need to address that there's some things going on there. So they called a fatwa on my mum. It was a jihad, and I reckon it travelled down the line to me, And I just think, why does he hate me so much, And then in your head, the only way you can, you don't know what's going on with their life. So when you've got limited information, we have a tendency as humans to want to make up answers for things. So I thought it must have been because I was ugly, must have been because I was stupid, must have been, there was something wrong with me, boys didn't like me, all in my head, right? And really, really did some serious damage for a really long time for me. And when I was about 30, I realised that I was still hated him, and he was completely oblivious. When I spoke to him and just said, I haven't liked you for a long time, and he denied any knowledge of that, didn't have any issues, no grudges, didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, well, I just want to say I forgive you, wish you the best with your life, blah, 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 because I don't have to carry that around anymore. Even if he was oblivious, I don't think that he was. And I saw him at we all went to school together, so one of our dads, my dad died, and then another friend's dad died about 10 days later, so we saw each other at dad's funerals. And he's doing well, he's got a lovely wife, he's doing things with his life. And I thought, wow, you have no concept about, maybe you dismissed it, maybe you don't remember, but you had no concept for me that was really, really damaging for me, as a kid. And it formed some beliefs that took me a really long time to untangle and let go of. So there's a bravado that people exhibit in bullying other people, so that there's no reflection on them. The spotlight's on the other person. Yeah, because there's stuff going on with them,
It's probably them, probably mirroring as well, probably bullying for the same things that's going on in their thing, you know what I mean? You're weak, but they know deep down that they didn't try as hard for the last thing, it's probably just a mirror. The people that bullying are just mirroring their own feelings.
Well, the thing they fear the most is that people will turn around and go, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? And that's what they fear, so they go on the offensive. Oh my God. And it's just some of the stories that I've heard from veterans, women and men, about getting bullied in service, that's given them PTSD and destroyed them, and it is It is part of mine
from bullying. I don't even know if it was deliberate bullying, but in my own head it was bullying, and that crippled me. It ruined me. I wouldn't talk to people. It came out of one unit, talking to two people, because I drank because of the bullying, because I was segregated for an incident. It wasn't even a bad incident. It was completely out of my control because I got injured and then put into a position, and then apparently I wasn't worthy enough for that position because I was injured.
So you're being Jack.
So I was being Jack, even though it's an injury, you can't do anything about it.
Gotta love that reasoning.
And then the boys' club started, and then I just withdrew and drank and did drugs, and to the point of I was a fucking shell of a person until I wanted to kill myself. And that was a huge part of it, was that side, because I could never, no matter what I did, I've won awards. I've got awards from special forces units around the world saying, you performed amazing. Here's a certificate, here's coins, RSN's coins from fucking other units and shit. But it was never good enough to, in their eyes, and that fucking crippled me and debilitated me. And
because you believed them.
Yeah.
Something in you believed them.
Yeah.
And that,
because it's from what comes from childhood, from the conditioning through all the other experiences in your life, and then they add on to it, and then
So and it's interesting that the bully, a bit like sharks, smell blood in the water. So they they smell something about you, and it's like they have this sixth sense of like what the chink in the or the Achilles is, and they just come in for the kill. And once they find their mark, they just hammer away at it. And that's what Andrew Koo said today, was about building resilience in people. You know, that coming to terms with what happened in your childhood because you didn't have that resilience to be able to go, oh, what are you talking about? You know? And dishing it back, and it just washes off you like your Teflon.
The shit that washed off me was the shit that people can fucking, you know, like abuse and call me dickhead or whatever the fucking, I don't care, but it's the shit that hits home.
Exactly.
As soon as they say that one word or whatever it is, that trigger.
And that's what I mean about them having this sixth sense for finding what that Achilles heel is, getting through the armour and just penetrating you to the point that you're like debilitated. You know, that was the whole point of like cutting an Achilles on an enemy, was that they were down, they couldn't move. You know what I mean? You debilitated them.
Snapped one.
Ooh. Yeah, so it's...
That was that injury, actually.
Achilles?
So I snapped like everything in my ankle doing PT. Like, it was after hours PT, but I was going for a 10k run and did my ankle. And then I went to work because it was a new position, I was posting into a position. It was it was a very skillful deployable position, and then I'm in that position with a broken fucking ankle and everything snapped in it. And from that moment, nothing I could do could ever make my reputation good. And purely for that unit. But then the next unit I went there, fit as fuck, like I'm going to prove myself, 6 weeks in, fuck my shoulder. And then I put myself into depression again. I was like, oh, everyone hates me and fucking they will think I'm shit. And no one did.
But in your head.
In my head. And so I withdrew, started drinking, doing drugs, and fucking ended up suicidal again. And then went to jump off a 28-storey balcony in the valley where I was living. And thankfully the unit I was with, 20 OD, they and 6 ESRs, they were really fucking good. It's probably the best unit I've come across when it came to the mental health, and I'll big shout out to you know who you are. But yeah, it was just that small bullying, and then it's in my own head, and then go into a unit like it was fucking bad. Like, it doesn't even sound like much, but like a lot of people won't get it. But it's happening to you.
And there's a lot of people who will get it, and who empathise with you, who feel your pain. You know what I mean?
Injury in defence is fucking can cause.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't do your job and you feel useless, and there's a whole bunch of shit that goes behind.
Of course there is, because that's how that is from the day you go into recruit training, is that the absolute worst thing that you can be is the jackman, is not pulling your weight, because you're then debilitating another member of the team or your section or your unit, and thus risking the lives of everybody in your section or your platoon. Because let's face it, all of the recruit training is all infantry-based platoons, right? And that you go in there with the expectation of wanting to do the best that you can do and be a viable member and la-di-la-di-la, and you get an injury, and the shame is just so real. It's horrific, you know. And no matter what, and if you fail something, far out. And it's like you can't wash it away, you can't scrub it away. You know, I heard about people standing in the shower and scrubbing themselves, you know, because they felt dirty and they felt ashamed and they weren't good enough. And it's like somewhere in the armour there's been exposure to, I would say, incorrect parenting or siblings, where someone's had a go and gone, you know, you're a loser. You'll always be a loser. Your father was a loser, you know. Surprised that people put up with you, blah, blah, blah. You know, your dad was somebody or your mum was somebody and you're never going to be like that. You statements. And as a vulnerable child, something sticks. And for some kids, they're like, I don't give rats what you say. You know, I admire people like that. Then there's for others where it's like debilitating. It's poisonous, you know, which is why I said to my kids, see someone at school that's slinging it, it's because their system's poisoned with something, you know, abuse, domestic violence, alcoholism, you know, and that's the model they've got. That's the model. That's what they come and they exhibit at school. That's what they exhibit in the military. It became so crystal clear to me when you work and train closely with people that you see the best of them and you see the worst of them.
Yep.
You see the worst of them.
Yep.
And it's just like, I know for me, I looked at that and went, you're not somebody I would like to trust my life with, ever. You know, because you don't trust yourself. And that became, you know, for me it was black and white. Now I see those people who are troubled and need support.
Yeah, instead of saying you're shit, go over there. Hey mate, let's go for training.
Yeah.
Let's go. Oh, you need some work with swinging the mind, mate.
Yeah.
Let's go over there and swing the mind, mate.
Yeah.
I wish I did more than that. More of that.
You're doing it now, so like let go of that because that doesn't belong to you. That's the past. You did the best that you could at the time with the level of knowledge you had, right? So it's okay to be where you were back then because you did the best that you could. And then you move into the now and it's like, so what did you learn from that? You know, what were the benefits of that experience? Like, that is such a good question to ask. So when the seesaw's tilted into the down position, the fulcrum is the question, what were the benefits of the experience? How do I turn that? And once you do that, once you go, what are the benefits? Your brain then goes into a positive mode, right? It gets you out of the shit trough and into the, okay, let me take the benefits of that and move forward. Even guys that have seen absolutely horrific things in Somalia and Rwanda. And it's like, what were the benefits of that? That we never deploy under the UN bullshit of like, go there and watch a massacre. You know, that we speak about it, that we make sure that never happens again because we've articulated it. Absolutely. Write the book, make the movie. You know, because otherwise history will repeat itself, and I'm a great believer in that we have the capacity to be so much more than we are. I know that. I know.
It's good to see you've still got hope. I've still got hope for humanity and mankind. A lot of people don't know.
No, because
You just see the negative world.
I look at Brad when he said, I thought...
I mean, yeah, you'd see it every day. Well, a
on
lot of the time.
little bits. I get little bits where it like encourages me. And when Brad said, when he called his dog Hope River, I'm like, wow. And he just said, I thought all people with the C word, church, and that no one cared, and all the things that I'd done were for nothing. And I went, no, mate, no. And I can't take away those experiences that you've had and what you've suffered from seeing those things that nobody should have had to have witnessed. Nobody, you know, like just inhuman behaviour, right? But you took the brunt of that out there so that didn't fall on all of us and contaminate us as well. And it's like, now you're here, let us help you recover, you know?
Do we want to end this soonish?
Soonish should be good because you've got to go up the coast.
Yeah, got a couple of messages there saying...
What time are you going to be there?
Yeah.
Really, really good talk, Joel. And
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to sit here and chat about young diggers and your experience. It's been amazing. Thank you for inviting me to the breakfast this morning. That was good. I learnt some things.
you stood up and asked. You stood up and you slung some questions in there that were really good.
Thank you. The questions that need to be asked and the answers need to be shared.
And those people who were there are not our enemy. They're on our team. That whole team from Toowong, the scientists, you know what I mean, and doctors that do research for the Gillespie Foundation, they are on our team, you know. And I know that there were some guys that might have liked to have gone and had a go. You didn't do this and you didn't, you know, the anger and the venting. And I'm so proud that the people who did attend respected the fact that these people have dedicated their lives to serve our community of veterans.
Exactly. And they, yeah.
And they do it without no gongs.
There was a whole table there of doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists taking the time out of their day, and I know how bloody busy their days are because you can't fucking see them ever.
Research scientists.
Research scientists who come and talk about veteran mental health, the case studies, the trials, everything, to a bunch of people who, everyone in that room, they're dedicated to veteran mental health and serving veterans this morning, and which was pretty fucking amazing. Like everyone there was there to serve veterans, and to be around that and that energy. And look, I looked around and there was some sad people. There's people hurting. There's people going on their journeys. There's people out there bubbly and joyous and helping. Everyone's on their own journey, but to be around that energy where everyone's got the one mission, the one goal, to help and serve, and to stop our friends, family, and fellow veterans, brothers, sisters from killing themselves, is pretty fucking amazing. That anyone can get a bunch of people in the room for that. It's just amazing, and it's amazing that you used it with such big, powerful people. Like to have the Governor General to make a video specifically for this morning. It's like, that's huge. So you should be proud of yourself, the young diggers, and for all the veterans that are working here and doing this. Has been amazing. This chat's been amazing. What you're doing for the community is amazing. So I want to thank you on behalf of me and all veterans, and Winnie Winston.
And I'll send you the application forms.
Thank you. Because it really has been. And even what we've discussed today has been truly fucking amazing. Like, we've talked about things here that veterans probably have not talked about before or heard about before. There's going to be information that they've got here that they can take on and start, hopefully, living their lives again.
That's the objective.
Yeah.
Is help them to recover who they were before they put on the service uniform. And because to go into service means that you need to change to fit into that machinery of the military methodology, and we all know that, and we all undertake it joyfully, with an open heart, not really realising how much it would change us. And
still, a lot of veterans don't realise how much it did change us. One of my questions today was about the indoctrination of veterans. What people, like, we hear about it, indoctrination, you're indoctrinated, and blah blah blah, but we don't understand the extent as to what in our daily lives after fucking service that affects us. I was talking to a friend last night. He was a combat engineer, went to special operation engineers. He's an angry motherfucker. And I explained to him some shit last night, and he was like, just by having that knowledge, you could see in his fucking mind, he's like, oh shit, I've got hope again. That makes sense. I can now fix this fucking problem. And that was a bit of information. I'll just quickly say now, I know we're about to cut it short, we're about to end it. But the indoctrination process to make a good fighter, to make a good soldier, you can't have soldiers that run away from fights or shit themselves in the bunker and not move. So to make a good soldier through over the years you're in, over the first 3 months, and then over the years you're in, they indoctrinate you to live in fight mode. You essentially get rid of flight and freeze, and you live in standby mode or fight mode, which is why a lot of veterans are angry and always defending. Because from things like drill through to, like, the moment you're on the bus and you start getting yelled at, and there's all this aggression getting you ready to fight at the drop of a hat. Information like that, a lot of veterans don't know. It'd be super fucking beneficial, because that's acknowledgement. Once you acknowledge why the behaviour itself, and then why you have that behaviour, then the healing can start.
So the physical changes that happen in your brain when you switch on the fight only, which is the kill switch, right? So you know in yourself that if you were faced with enemy that was going to shoot you, or you were going to shoot them, you wouldn't hesitate, because then your training would kick in, and you're right there, right?
Paperwork in front of me.
Yep. Well, but that is why the military methodology works, and it's the same methodology that's been happening for a couple of thousand years, really. You know, Napoleon, the Romans, Mark Antony, anyway. So understanding about methodologies and how that works, no different to the indoctrination that happens with people in cults, religious orders, where they become like fanatic. That's all there is to it, right? I can do that because nothing else matters. I'm on a purpose. For military, the greater good, nationalism, there's a whole bunch of incentives, not letting your mate down, not wanting to die, right? Formulates that massaging of the amygdala. So there's two amygdala in your brain. So the amygdala is the fight or flight, right? So when the amygdala is stimulated, fight or flight, it grows. And when you keep it in that mode where you've got the kill switch flicked on and you're in country and you're doing that all the time, you're always watching, become hypervigilant. There's all of those, snap decisions, watching, looking, where everything gets sharp. Sharp and quick, and you're switched on, That increases the size of the amygdala, right? So when people come back from that, they can't just switch it off. And the reason that they're hypervigilant, the reason that they become anxious is because the amygdala is still pumping the adrenaline around the body, getting ready to fight. It takes, and it is possible, that with meditation and mindfulness activities, your dog, calming, quiet, there's nobody around. Nature, we don't have to run away. We're going to walk through the shops and we're going to sit and have a coffee. The amygdala, over time, shrink. Right, that's the science. And moving around the trauma part of the brain, small activities with a successful outcome, repeated. They need to be repeated because as a child we've grown new neural pathways, as adults we don't, but it can find new neural pathways to go with. It does heal. So that's where the dog is the 101 of both of those things. Sit with your dog puts his hand in your lap, pat the dog, and you relax and you become present. The cold nose theory, dog sticks its cold nose on you and you're like, cold.
You're in the moment.
I'm in the moment, right? So there is science behind it. It's not just all hippie-feely stuff.
And I can't wait. There's so much science is coming out. I fucking cannot wait to bring that science forward because there's so much.
So evidence-based is what we use. I secretly am a nerd and read research papers like when I go to bed. Yeah. And my husband's not very happy about it, but, never mind. No, he's very... I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having a supportive husband who works extra shifts, because I don't get paid to pay our bills. And how do we manage? We live life a little bit more simply because what we do here is it is a critical service that we deliver in community. It is going to continue to be a need in community, so we need to stay here, not for anything other than the fact that we provide a service in the community. My hope is that we get that support and sponsorship, so rather than having to do sausage sizzles all the time or cut up liver
It takes time.
Yeah,
liver. It takes time away from other things that you need to do. That is exactly right.
It takes time away from being able to visit dudes in hospital and go and check on this guy because he hasn't been to training for a while. Let's go and have a talk and how you going and what's happening. And, because I'm hands-on, I'm boots on the ground, that's military, that's army. I need to cite the person, what's going on, what's happening, how's your dogs, everything all right. It's not till you do that you find out that they're not functioning because they can't read and write. You know what I mean? I go back to that example. It's like they want assistance, but either they don't know how to ask for it or they don't know that anything's available. So speaking to them about what's happening and
giving them hope that there is ways.
Absolutely.
There is. And you really don't just give up because it's hard.
Mate, if you can get through fucking recruit camp, do you know what I mean? If you can get through that, you can get through because you have determination, resilience, courage, all of those things. When you're feeling shit, you can do it.
Yeah. And you may have to just learn whatever that skill is in the army way or the military way, because here's something the military is really good at: teaching dumb motherfuckers the most smartest $1 million worth of equipment, super secret, super high-tech shit. Some of the people operating it, they're like, what the fuck? I saw you trying to cut through a metal lock with a pair of scissors. Yet they're doing, operating $30 million equipment, which is highly sophisticated shit. You're like, so there is ways to,
Yeah, there totally is.
There's ways to learn. Because I don't learn, I'm not very good at school. Like sitting in the classroom with one teacher, 40 kids, is never good at that. Teach me one-on-one, I'll learn, remember it, it's me.
And understanding how you learn, like finding out whether you're a visual learner, whether you're kinetic, you need to have your hands on it. People sitting and listening to someone talk doesn't work for them. Me, I need to write things down. I need to see the visual pattern of
I
it.
saw you writing in your journal today. I wish because I took mine and I had to take photos of the board.
Yep.
I go through about an A5 journal, like probably every
So
6 weeks.
I do about 3 or 4 of these a year,
Yep.
and I keep them because then I can go back through them, and when there's stuff that I need to address, I highlight it in pink because it's like I've written that down. I need to do that. Oh yeah, I did that quote for Mark with the dog. Tick.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Because I don't have it on a system yet, but I write everything down because I have that much stuff floating along.
Well, it helps me remember it. If I write it down, it sticks in my brain.
And I know that I've written. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I know that I've written it
Yep.
somewhere,
Yep.
and I go back and find it, and then I break myself that I could have written actually better notes rather than just
Yep.
1 or 2 things.
Yep.
But yes, it works. So, and
Sorry, I've cut you off again. This is something I'll get better at when I do podcasting more. Journaling for
Yes.
everyone else is fucking huge for me. I never journaled before. I probably filled 10 this year of A5 size notepads. I write down everything, every thought, not every thought, but like I write down a lot. Ideas, thoughts, feelings, and it really bloody helps. Before bed, if I have something on my head,
you write it down.
I write it down. I have it on beside. I write it down, and it just helps me get it off my chest and out of my head and onto paper, and then I can have a better night's sleep.
Yeah, because it's not bouncing around in your head.
And I know I don't have to remember it and think about it then because I can wake up in the morning
And it's
the
there.
problem is there, written down, and it's not going to be forgotten.
And that's exactly what Dr. Andrew Koo, the director of the Toowong Medical Centre, said. Journaling what happened to you means that you don't need to keep retelling it. So even journaling something where you've got to go and you need to see the psychologist or this, and they're going to go, well, what? And it's like, there you go, it's all there. I don't need to repeat it again because that's the one of the things that I've identified where they're going, I just don't want to say it again. It's like, you don't have to. You don't have to. So structured support. Where were you? What happened? Who witnessed it? I thought that was gold, gold, gold. And then and the people who are on the other end, empathetic and listening. You know, and I will say about Brigadier Aaron Hassel, he is a listener. He's a listener. I've seen him at 2 commemoration ceremonies getting bailed up by a couple of people who were like chewing his ear. One was a cadet dressed up as a World War I, soldier, bless him. And Aaron was just so gracious. He just stood there and engaged with him and asked him questions about, what he wanted to do. And that kid will never forget that because Aaron saw him, listened to him, acknowledged him, validated him, and then everyone else had gone in to have lunch, after the ceremony. He was the last one to get in there because I was watching what he was doing because I was quite fascinated by that. He gets to the table, he's going to get a drink, a little old lady accosts him, and so he turns to her and she's like, oh, blah, 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 whatever. My grandson, my husband, my grandfather, whatever. They all want to tell a story. He stands there patiently and listens and talks to her, looks at her, converses and interacts with her. And she's laughing and resting and eventually gets to the bar to get a Coke, and that's when I said, mate, well done. Like, well done. He goes, what do you mean? And I said, the fact that you honoured those people enough to give them time, to hold the space for them to be acknowledged in what they were doing. That meant so much to them, I could see it.
Yeah, especially from a brigadier.
And I think that he is representative of what the military is moving towards as far as leadership is concerned. So no disrespect to previous leaders, but that hard-assed, drinking in the mess, the war board, and don't worry about that, and that's very different to working with people who now need to be informed about the change that happens when they come into the military, what is to be expected of them, and then what happens to them when they leave. Otherwise, people will stop signing up.
Do you reckon they don't say what will happen when they join because people will stop signing up? If you say, hey, we're going to indoctrinate you and change your fucking psyche, will people join up?
Well, if you said it that way,
Yeah, I suppose.
probably not. But if you said, for you to fit into the military method, that we will need to have you as an effective, organised fighting team and to be brave in the face of danger when your life is in peril, right? There are things that we will need to train you in. So we will train and train and train and train. So weapons firing, weapon stops firing, clear the chamber, check the chamber. So you repeat it because when you're under duress, that's all you think about, right? So it's a base level programming. Getting them on board about why you're doing it, right? To say that will save your life, right? Later on, there'll be a process of coming out of that. So that's what the military haven't done yet, is acknowledge that rather than we've got you now, we own your ass, fucking hup to, grub, maggot, fuck you, blah, 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 right? That doesn't work really like it used to, because people are informed. Because what did he say? The statistics of 7,000 veterans marching out every year from service. I thought it was 50%, but it's higher than that, have got a diagnosed mental illness.
Yeah, I was told yesterday 48.6% was within the first 12 months get diagnosed with mental illness.
So that's 3 out of 4, 75% diagnosed mental illness. So that's because they felt betrayed, lied to, unprepared, shocked at the transition, morally hurt because they feel like the ADF's kicked them and now they're being handed over DVO who don't seem to give a fuck or don't understand veterans. So they're seriously butthurt, on lots of... And that's because as opposed to 20 or 30 years ago, we are more informed. You're reading research articles. Your forebears 20 or 30 years ago would never have dreamt of that at all, because they're there to be a soldier. And you know what I mean? And who do you think you are? Grub? Don't be giving me some shit, Now get out there and march around the square. I'm going to rip your arms off and stick them in your ears and ride you around the playground like a bicycle. Warrant officers, mate. So an informed soldier, an informed service person is more of the likelihood now. So the military needs to evolve the psychology in how they engage people. And that still needs to be there. If we were at threat of being invaded, they would then have to say, we need everybody that we can, like the Ukraine. We know what we're facing. We know, so they came into the battle for their homeland informed, right? Ready to be drilled, right? Because there is a difference of them choosing to be in that as opposed to, I got in here and I don't know what I'm doing. Very different, right? And that engagement of your faculties of, mate, I'm making the decision to do this for these reasons, right, means that your mental health is so much better, right? The bad mental health here, I didn't sign up for this. What's wrong with me? Oh, I've been lied to. I've been ripped off. I've been me. I went to Rwanda and I wasn't allowed to fight anybody. I just had to sit there and witness a massacre. Moral hurt, But if it's like, this is where we're asking you to go, these will be the rules of engagement. You can't, right? That's just, and you are liable to witness atrocities, right? But if we don't go there and witness what's happening, we can't go back to the UN and say, yes, those fucking bastards are decapitating children, motherfuckers, may they burn in hell forever, right? Or worse, that effect, Your Honour. The UN then can't go, we have evidence-based this, then we can activate, we have a big meeting, yes, they were doing that, here's the proof, everyone goes, oh, that's horrible, I vote against that, I vote to go in and, and then the whole machination moves forward, because God help you if you don't have the democracy of, yes, I'm voting that we go into Rwanda and we stop what's going on there, right? And that needs to come from, we have evidence-based. But if you were told that before you went in there, do you think that you would cope better than if you were just sitting there to do peacekeeping and were made to sit on a hill and witness a massacre?
You would 100% do better.
Because
you're prepared for it. You're like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I'm going to expect the worst. And then once the worst, when you do see something, you're like, well, that's not the worst.
But then you can say, the reason why I'm here is to witness this, so I can go back and report. Then we can we can mobilise more troops and people to come in here and go, stop this
that's
shit.
That's actually a really good point, is the acknowledging that I am here to witness this. This is what I'm doing. I'm witnessing this. I'm not,
And I have
instead
a
of just
purpose.
standing there witnessing it.
And being told that, yes,
Yeah.
you're an observer, but you tooled up to the shithouse.
Yeah.
You are fucking fit.
Yeah.
You are amazing with your team. Your team is effective, and you cannot engage.
Yeah.
Right? Frustration, rage, moral hurt, because they're not on board with that. They disagree with that decision. Very different to, this is the reason we're going in. Right? It's going to be fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the same principle that applies to going to Bandarache and going to Timor. Bandarache and Timor. It's the same principle that when they dropped those guys in, they dropped you in to come and support in the Philippines, right? There is going to be carnage. There will be body parts in the water. There will be typhoid and other shit in. You won't be able to drink the water. There's going to be people dying of thirst. You'll see dogs eating body parts, right? Prepare you, but you are also going to save people. You're also going to bring, there's chaos and looting and fucking people being raped and all the rest of it. You will bring peace in the chaos. You will be able to rescue people and get them help. You'll be able to recover the dead and, you know, and bring back some order so they can start to recover. Are you, would you...
you're going to be there learning lessons so that future people, when they go to and act on these, have a better, easier time.
Yeah, and let me finish.
Yeah.
So are you up for that?
I'm up for anything.
Yeah, no. But in that circumstance,
Yeah.
are you up for that? And you'd go, yeah, I can do that. Because your motivation is there because you know why you're deploying for that. You know. You're like, fuck, it's fucking horrible. Yes, there's fucking dogs eating children's arms and shit. Fuck off, you know. But that I'm here because there's a bigger purpose. I know why I'm here. Just to be sending there to help out when there's shit going on, your mind is blown. Because the external motivation, I can't just quit. Right? So there's rage, there's indignation, right? There's moral hurt, right? There's also everything that's exploited at your soul level about witnessing carnage, right? Big difference. It's like firefighters that go in and they are told that there's going to be shit. They're burnt bodies, you know? Police that do road fatality, they know that's what they're going to be going in. That is what they'll be dealing with the road fatality squad. You know, it's going to be horrible, right? But they choose to be there because they know someone needs to do it and they want to be the person. Big difference to you've been deployed. Good luck with that. Yeah, take this hill over there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. There's a fundamental difference, and you spoke about it before, internal motivation. Yeah? So...
Because the difference between internal and external, sorry, I'm just bringing it up just so other people know as well. Internal was the motivation you give yourself, and then external was everything else. So like in the military, it's your fear of
being in trouble. Yep.
That's your motivation. People are like, oh, I do PT, I'm motivated. No, you do PT because everyone else is doing PT, and if you don't, you'll get charged.
Yes.
There is some people who do PT because they want to get fitter,
but there's also the accolade of like, I'm more pumped than you.
Yeah. There's brain fart.
And that's the internal motivation is I'm just fit anyway. I like doing it. External motivation, I fucking hate running, but if I don't do it, I'm going to get back squatted or I'm going to get kicked out or...
Because it's a huge difference.
Yes.
Because once you leave the military and you don't have that internal motivation, which I realised I didn't, all my motivation was external motivation. And then I left the military and I had fuck all internal motivation. And it was when you're not getting in trouble for doing shit, when you're not, you don't have to do anything and you can fuck up and you just, I wasn't motivated to do anything and I wasn't,
because you've got to find your own internal engines and restart them.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, which I think is a good analogy, you know, and people coming into Dog Squad, that's your decision. This is what we offer. This is the method, right? Do you want in? Yeah, and it won't be easy. And you shall have to pick up poo. Maybe one day your dog will throw up in the shopping centre, you know what I mean? And you'll have to suck that up and make sure that you wear...
Not actually.
Suck it up. No, actually. Good call. Merlin did park the tiger outside Target one day. just bone, yellow bony goo. Just didn't even hear it coming. Just bleh, and there's this big trail, and I'm like, oh my God, I nearly died. And there was a lady with a pram and a kid. She took out a big thing, like massive thing of baby wipes, and just handed it and said, "Keep them. You can have the lot."
How amazing is that?
The dog squad guy went round the corner, came back with like 3 little napkins like this, and I'm like, and then said, "What's in your pouch? Have you got clean-up equipment?" And I went, "Well, I used to, but he never like, be prepared, scout, brownies, guides, be prepared. So always carry a bag and some paper towel and a plastic glove just in case."
I always forget the dog bags. Like, not always, but then when you do it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to look for a bin to find like shit in this. Fuck. Because I normally have the little bone thing that carries the bag on the leash. But the plastic clips they come with.
So fucked.
So fucked. But luckily where we go walking, we keep all the bags. But yeah, you always got to be prepared. And I've got this like little water bottle it's got like this rubber bit that sits like this, and then it folds out like that, so then you can pour water directly into the thing.
They're great. There's some good stuff, hey? Yeah, well, I hope we get the website up so we can sell more cool stuff.
Yeah.
And
www.youngdiggers.com.au,
and there'll be a shop on there.
And we're going to add that into the link down below. All this is going to turn to about 400 videos. Do you get donations from dog units? So
No.
like when I was at
No, we don't.
a certain unit, they were donated so many fucking toys and things that they were then going and giving them to people.
Nice.
Just like, we've got 400 balls, we've got 400 of these, like bags and bags of shit.
So with Pet Barn and Pet Stock, for example, there are groups of people who rescue animals, as opposed to the RSPCA and the legitimate organisations. These are independents and who are good at lobbying. So any broken bags, anything that's about to expire goes to them as a collective, and then they farm that out to the people who've got like a foster cat or a foster dog. God bless them, they're doing a job. However, so we go in there and go, "Oh, any chance?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we already like donate it to them, but I know Pet Stock has $1 million in their charity fund. So how do we get access to that?"
You're busted, Pet Stock.
Pet Stock used to sponsor us about 3 or 4 years ago, and then they decided that everybody needed a turn. So the money went into a fund, and then you had to like apply to the fund to get like a grant from them. So that's become the case because there are so many organisations, ESS, we help rescue dogs and we help 3-legged cats, and and people with cerebral palsy, and God bless them, and and veterans are like, "I'm not going up against like kids in a wheelchair." You know what I mean? Like, I'll just suck it up. Yeah. That's what we do. Yeah. So we suck it up. So I went through. I went through most of my savings to keep the organisation afloat when I first came on board, which don't tell my mum because I'll be in so much trouble. And I spoke about it with my husband and just said, we just can't let it fall because there's dudes out there with jacketed dogs that if they find out that the organisation they got the dog through or jacketed their dog has gone, that'll be the last straw. So no. And if they'd been in proprietary, then we can't just walk away from it. That wasn't what we were trained to do, and that's not who we are as people that serve our country, because that's what we do. Yeah. It's not about vigilantism. It's just about you're behaving badly, you need to go and sit down. Stop your shit, And if you can't stop, then go and get some help. Stop ripping off old ladies. Like, bad form, And that's what we've done. We've recovered the organisation that was not in a good way. And I've been finding people who had worked, donated, helped, and then got kicked out for whatever reason. And I found quite a few of them and gone and apologised and just said, you served. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you did. I know it wasn't acknowledged, and there were some badly behaved people that weren't interested in how much money they could get their hands on, and they've gone too. So, because that tilted quite a few people. And I went to some of the elders in the community and said, "What shall I do?" And they went, "Walk away, shut it down, walk away, start another one." And I went, "But people have been doing that over and over. What about the people that have been donating? What about the people that have got dogs with the organisation?" And we just walk away. no. And I was surprised that they said, I just walk away. You know, I'm like, well, what, you deployed and you like walk away? I don't get that. I'm like, no, it's more than the naughty corner.
Yeah.
It's like, anyway, so that's just me maybe, but I just thought that it wasn't all right, you know.
And how can people donate? On youngdiggers.com.au?
Yes, www.youngdiggers.com.au. We have a donation page. We have a campaign that's running called Four for a Poor, $4.
Your campaign?
Yeah, Four for a Poor. $4 once a month.
Okay.
Well, I stole the concept from 8 for a mate, you know, $8 once a month for a mate. So 4 for a poor, you know. So I've had to explain it so many times I realised that it wasn't as clever as I thought it was, or people just don't get it. But $4 once a month for 12 months. I know we don't want the money up front, but if you've got a lot of money, you need to give it to us. I'm happy with that. But if everybody donated $4 once a month, 1,000 people, that's $4,000 a month. That covers our operating costs, right? And then we can go and sausage sizzle and sell dog treats to raise funds to buy dogs for people, or to cover them for things like, you know, vet bills and stuff when they get stuck.
To all those listening who are spending $150 a month on streaming services, $4 can save a life.
Yeah.
$4 can save a life.
It's only $4. You don't even miss it. And
4 times 12 is what, $48 a year.
But 1,000 people subscribing, $4 once a month. And you spread the load, you share the load, and then it's manageable. That's all it is. I mean, it's not like we're sitting at people kind of go, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I sit out by the pool and drink daiquiris, you know, like.
$4 you can't even buy coffee.
No, you can't buy coffee. So
For $4 anymore.
honestly, this organisation cannot disappear. You know, it needs to stay here. And my vision while I'm here is to solidify the foundation, you know, build it on the rock, have good practices and SOPs in place, set good moral compass, and the people who you have here now are amazing. Everybody who volunteers are amazing. Everybody who comes and supports us from afar are amazing. So when you generate that right motivation, good moral compass, good things come, you know, and more good things to come. You attract people. It's like you're a little lighthouse, and people go, oh, well, you guys, oh, wow. And they get something. You know, we've had a veteran move in upstairs, so they pay rent up there. That helps us to pay for the rent here, because it's a purpose facility. You know, we put in all the flooring. People can sleep if they need to. There's a tally, there's a stove, there's a microwave, there's somewhere to park, there's someone for their dog so they can come and stay here while they train. Some of the dudes that come a long distance will come and stay here so they can do a bit of training. We've had dudes stay here for emergency reasons. They couldn't stay anywhere else because they had a dog. You know, we've got a blow-up bed. It's not like we're making you sleep out the back on a hoochie with a...
Which most veterans would be happy with anyway.
Yeah. The big thing is, for veterans, is like they don't want to be a burden. They don't want to be in a position. They're like, oh, no, I'm right. And it's like, oh, just shut up. You know, just shut up. Just
shut up and take the help.
Just shut up and take the help, you know.
We're giving you the code so you can get in here and say the night.
Because there's an expectation there that we have your back.
Yep.
We're not expecting you to come and erect the place, because that's the brotherhood. You know, that is the brotherhood. That's the code. Right? And it is no different to being in the field and being under fire. Your life is at risk. Right? When your life is at risk, you're calling the troops. And that's why we're here. Right? Might sound a bit dramatic. I don't give a fuck. Right? I do not give a fuck if you don't like it. But that's why we're here, and that's what we do. Yeah. You know, and not on my watch. Not on my watch. Like, we haven't lost anybody in a dog squad program to suicide. Right, that's...
Huge. That alone is something to be immensely proud of.
Because it's not okay when we lose people like that. It's not okay. It's not okay to not do anything about it when we can do everything in our power to bring them back from the edge.
you know. And for the people that are listening to this, don't worry, you're not going to miss out on dying. It absolutely is going to happen to you one day, just not now, and not when you're alone, when you're unwell, when your brain's lying to you. No. You know, don't do that to yourself, and don't do it to your friends and family. Don't do it to your colleagues and the people that you serve with, because they will fucking suffer for the rest of their lives. Okay? So just don't do it. Find another way. You are better than that. You know? You're better than that. Get a fucking dog. Right? Come and see me. I will get you a fucking dog. You know? If that's what it takes. Because there is no cure for suicide. As it never goes away. So.
Thanks, guys.
It's okay.
It's good to see. Like, it's not, but your passion. You can feel it. You can see the passion.
I don't give a fuck what rank you are. I don't give a fuck what service you served in. Right?
If you're deployed,
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether you got bullied in recruit camp, you know what I mean? Like, and you've suffered because of it. And I've seen guys like that, and girls. It's like it's an event that happened to you that you were not processing properly. It's affected you mentally, and you are entitled to a support and help. 100%. You know, and we will assist you. I will assist you with every fucking fibre of my body, right? And for as long as I'm here, 100% dedicated to doing this. And I won't be here forever. You know, that's the nature of our life. But while I'm here, everything in my power. You know?
Thank you. Thank you. Sincerely. Thank you. You're amazing. Young Diggers is amazing. Merlin's amazing. What you're doing are amazing. I know veterans that have dogs, and it saves their lives. It's their dogs have saved their lives. Service dogs, not service dogs. Dogs are amazing. Veterans are amazing. You're amazing. Let's change the world, one veteran at a time.
One team at a time.
Yep.
And there's no two teams are the same. You know? No two dogs are the same. No two veteran experiences are the same. Everyone's unique. But you are important, even if your brain's telling you that it isn't. You know? This is the way. You know? To recover you from the edge of the cliff. This is the way.
Thank you. So glad that you're here. Doing this. Your passion is obviously huge and is keeping this thing afloat and is helping and changing lives. Like some of the stories you've said today just in this podcast about some of the veterans that their lives have completely 180 and flipped, and daughters are saying like thank you, and their parents have changed. It's just so amazing, Kaz. It really is. And I want to say thank you.
Thanks, mate. It's a privilege. It's an honour to serve. You know, and it is service, 100%. And you know, and I appreciate what you're saying, but for me, if I wasn't doing it, if it wasn't filling my cup, I couldn't do it, and it keeps me alive. Do you know what I mean?
I know. The same with sort of this group, Mags. It's sort of the same with that. It fills my cup. It's keeping me going. You're like keeping my purpose going, my drive, my mission going. So I do know what you mean there, and thank you. That truly is amazing. And so if you can donate $4 a month, $100 right now, if you've got a spare $1 million, throw it this way, please, to the young diggers, and because they could really use it.
And 100% of what you donate goes towards assisting veterans.
You get your tax.
Yep.
money.
Yep.
I don't know what they're called. Tax write-off.
Tax invoice.
Tax invoice.
Because we've got donor gift recipient status. If you wanted to donate stuff that we could raffle, if you wanted to donate services, so we have people like a trainer donated a year's worth of training, which was about $6,000. So then we gave her a tax invoice.
That was the Just a quick
donation box.
donation box.
If you've got good ideas about social media and fundraising and things like that, and you want to donate some time, we'd appreciate that help. I'm fucking amazing, but I just can't do everything. I only have 2 arms, and we're limited in how much we can do. And my priority is to look after the veterans, you know, and some of the guys are just lonely. They just want to visit.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm finding that in the veteran community is just loneliness itself.
And it breaks my heart that I'm out like having to raise funds, and I would much prefer to be going to visit. Hey, go on, you're right. Come have a coffee, you know, because I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I'm really good at it. I'm not. Obviously, I don't have any money now because it's not important to me.
Yeah.
It's not, you know. Yes, we need it, and I get it, and I know my mum's disappointed that, you know, I don't have millions of dollars in the bank, and then I don't have any money. And what about when I retire? And it's like, that's not my motivation, and I can't focus on those things or worry about them because it takes away from my focus on what I'm doing. And I believe that I am doing this because it needs to be done. You know, and I'm lucky that I get to do it. I'm so privileged to speak to brothers and sisters who've served.
Share their stories, hear their stories.
Hold the space for them, recognise them, acknowledge them, you know, and feel their pain of what they've suffered. It's an honour, you know. And even if I die povo on the streets, you know, homeless or whatever, I'll fucking die happy because I'm doing what I'm doing.
My heart will be full.
My heart will be full. And I know some people don't get that, but
It's yeah, some people won't, but they will eventually get it. Eventually. Well, Kaz, let's end it here. I think we've gone for like 4 hours. So this is a great podcast. Thank you again. And I can't wait to do it again with you. And yeah, chat soon.
okay, mate.
Thank you again. If you can donate, please do. Also, if you can donate time, doesn't even necessarily have to be to here to Young Diggers, but to any organisation where you give service. I think it's really going to help. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Sorry about getting teary, but I'm a girl and I'm allowed to,
Everyone's allowed to.
especially as a chick.
And let's do it again.
Yeah,
It'll
mate.
be amazing.
And,
hopefully we can raise some money for you. So I'm going around Australia next year doing a charity, like a drive for veteran charities. Still putting that
Together, I think
plan
it's a great idea.
but would love to be able to raise some money for Young Diggers.
We did have a initiative, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, Drive for Diggers, where they were rebuilding an old ambulance, and they were going to take it round, and as it is with a lot of ESOs, and I'm sure that veterans have come across the toxicity that exists in the veteran community where they'll fucking rip each other's throats out.
It's so negative. It's so toxic.
It's very bad. And it didn't get off the ground on it. You know, there was another changing of the guard, blah, blah, blah. And I thought it was a really good idea. And one of the things I love the most is that we have a truck, and then I'm able to get in the truck, pick up dogs, drop off dogs, pick up veterans, take them with their dog to training, go to visit them in hospital, go with them with the ambulance with the dog so the paramedics aren't fucking nervous, and, you know, and deliver the dog. And my cousin, who is a millionaire, God bless him, just pure luck more than anything else, I think. When he said, "What are you doing?" and I passionately described, you know, Young Diggers and assistance dogs and veterans, he's like, "Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah." And then talked to someone else, and then came back and he said, "Oh, see, it's dogs, right? You just do something with dogs."
Yeah.
And I
Wasn't
can't,
even paying attention to begin with.
and I just thought, yeah, it's something with dogs, mate, you know. And I've held off at the times we've really been financially, like, just about gone, right, just about insolvency, which I get reminded of by our previous we're 3 days away from insolvency, and I went, it's okay, money will come in, we get money, it's all right, we've survived, right? And I'm thinking, I've got my cousin who's a millionaire, like, as a last resort. But even as a last resort, I wouldn't ask him, because it's like, it's almost grubby. Do you know what I mean? It's and I have more faith and hope that good things come, you know.
Yeah.
When
The
you,
universe provides.
oh, I do believe that. You know, you coming today was quite miraculous. Rob finding you was even more miraculous. And you got to see Rob today. And I've seen him be in situations like that where he's broken. And we were at a fundraiser, one of many, where he came out. That's challenging for him, really, really challenging, because there's all sorts of people walk up and come near him and his dog. You know, his dog's protective of him for a reason, right? And he was out the front of the marquee and he's like, chat. And go, oh, look at Rob, he's doing really well. And the next thing, he was round the back of the vehicle, sitting, leaning with his back on the wheel, just in tears, hugging his dog. And then I saw him hug his dog and stayed there for a while. And eventually he self-regulated and he got himself together. And he came back and sat down. And I said, how are you, mate? And he goes, oh, I've just got a bit triggered. And I went, yeah, but you went away. You sat with your dog. You self-regulated. You had cuddles. And you recovered. Awesome.
Yeah, that's right. That's like you've been challenged, you've overcome the challenge, and you've continued on.
And each time you do that, you get a little bit stronger because you know, okay, I'm a bit teary. That's upset me.
And I know I can get through it.
Exactly. And like today, he did. So
he was fairly emotional today.
yes, he was.
And he stood strong. Like he
And-
saw his emotion. I heard him. Overheard him talking about it. It was like, he wasn't happy that he was emotional, but like, how fucking strong is he to be there, knowing that he does get emotional, and then this whole chat was about veteran mental health and PTSD, and which is something he's
I have a lot of respect for Rob, and I love him like a brother, and I love him enough to let him regulate with his dog, and then after, how you doing, brother? You know, something triggered me, yeah. And the thing is, we can all see that, and everything that Andrew Koo said about allowing that flow, it was so powerful, you know. It is. It's a psychiatrist just said it's sacred work, Kaz. And I went, from a psychiatrist, that's a very profound thing to say. It is sacred work because you're recovering, helping people recover their soul. You know, even if you kill yourself, don't think you're getting out of it because there's more stuff to come. You know, irony. All right.
You're going to be coming back to this life to redo the lessons until you learn.
Maybe even worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thank you, mate. Thank you for your courage to do what you're doing, because I know it's confronting for you, you know, and there's always going to be the odd naysayer on the sideline.
You know, I almost didn't get Mags up and running because of fear of judgment from those people
Yes.
that I was talking about before.
But you did it anyway.
I can't remember. I was almost going to give it all up because I just didn't think I could handle them saying anything. I don't know. Well, like, why the fuck would we listen to Crowe? You know what I mean? Even just something like that. Like, why the fuck would we listen to him? I almost was not going to do any of it until a couple of friends actually. And I've got a business coach, like a life mentor, that I needed. And I fucking highly recommend getting a mentor in your life, someone who's above you. And then he sort of pushed me to do it and get over that fear. I was so fear, like,
I know.
I didn't want to be in the public eye at all. I wanted to help as many veterans as I could. I knew how I wanted to help. But fuck, that fear of, one, just being vulnerable.
Putting yourself out there.
And then two, I didn't care about the whole public. I couldn't give a fuck if a random person I'd never met said, what if, like, I started posting on my Facebook and stuff, and I did a couple on the council page. I had a couple of people saying that's cringy as fuck, and a couple of people doing like throw up thing. That didn't bother me. People I know passing judgment fucking destroys me.
Yes, because you value them.
Yeah.
that's the difficult thing is loving yourself enough to allow them to have their opinion, because that's all it is.
Yep.
Is their opinion.
Do you know, one of them reached out to me. Actually, a couple of them reached out to me and thanked me and said what I'm doing is amazing, and that their opinion of me was obviously wrong, and they wish they took the time to get to know me, because they didn't even know, they just heard, like through the boys club, they're like, I don't talk to him over there, and it's, people have literally reached out. One of the same people reached out to me last week or the week before saying, I've saved his life, which was amazing. I've had a few people reach out now doing that, which is pretty cool, but it made it so much responsibility to take on, so much to carry as well, and it's like figuring it all out. But
I hear you.
Yeah, it's
I hear you, mate.
it's pretty amazing what we're doing. And the best thing about it, we're not doing it for us at all.
No.
If this was for me, I wouldn't have gone out in public. I would have just fucking stayed back in my couch and tried helping another way. But I know for me, this is the best way I could help the veteran community.
And I got kind of parachuted in here, and I didn't ever see it coming. Because if I'd seen it coming, I would have probably bolted, run away. Because that whole, who am I to work in the veteran space? I didn't deploy, I didn't work full time, I didn't have any gongs,
Yeah. It's a lot to bloody... And that's a lot of your own judgment on yourself.
100%. Yeah, look, Whitney.
Alright. Thanks, Kaz. Let's end it here.
Yeah.
Merlin, can you say goodbye?
Willie, come here, buddy. Come on, come here. Want to say goodbye? Go say goodbye. Come on. Tell me. Tell me. Come on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Say, tell me.
Thank you, Merlin. And thanks, Kaz.
Okay, welcome, mate.